do, 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 do. Welcome, everybody, to Lorebeards 40,000. We are here to talk about The Rock.
Dwayne the Glock Johnson.
The
Rock
Dark
and
Angels,
roll.
home base of the Dark Angels chapter. That's what we're going to be talking about today. For those of you who don't know who we are, I am Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. I've written a bunch of books for Warhammer 40,000 roleplay, as well as some Warhammer 40,000 video games. And I worked on the US White Dwarf team for a couple of years. I know 40K pretty well. And I'm excited to be here to talk about my favorite chapter, along with my co-hosts.
Hello.
This way.
I do that too, where I'm trying to like point to my name. I figured it out. It's over here now, but I keep doing this. Damn it.
Yeah, I same way. I point to where it looks on my screen, but it's opposite for them. So
yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Ross and Alexis. I am a massive gargantuan nerd that is a painting commissioner. I could speak. I promise. English is my first language. I'm just giggling at this point. I am a collector of Warhammer. I've been way too deep into the Warhammer lore for so long. And currently I am trying to finish my own tabletop game, which is going to be really cool. And I'm really excited about it.
She's wearing a t-shirt today, which features a Norn Queen, actually. It says, got biomass. Oh, yeah. I believe this is, did you commission that art?
This is a commissioned artwork that I commissioned a very long time ago. And used to be able to buy them through my Teespring, but ever since I stopped doing as much YouTubing, which, by the way, I'm back doing more YouTubing now because I decided that I'm going to play through every single 40K game, even the bad ones, which a lot of them are bad.
There's that mobile game. I would say don't do the mobile games, but
I'm gonna not do the card games because those ones are pretty lame. But yeah.
But if you want if you want some advice, I can help you out on Chaos Gate and Final Liberation for sure. Maybe I will play those on stream too, because I'm doing Twitch streaming as well. You can catch me over at the Ross Watson on Twitch.tv. But we're not here to talk about
under this name.
Norn Queen Alexis. That's right.
Yeah.
We're not here to talk about the classics games. Although damn, I think we should probably have an episode on the 40K video games at some point, because Bolt Gun is like canonical.
Bolt Gun is canon.
So is Space Marine in 1 and 2.
Yep, and potentially Dawn of War 4.
Yeah, potentially. So there's
aspects of Battlefleet Gothic are also canon, which does include The Rock.
So we're gonna. You don't get. There's actually. I think it's a valid topic to cover at some point. Would be the 40K video game. Maybe not like each game it gets its own episode, but
no, I would just crash them all into one episode.
There we go. Just like rocks crashing into each other.
Yeah. And, somehow surviving a planetary bombardments during a chaos storm that tears the planet into pieces, except for that one spot conveniently where the lion is standing.
Benjamin says, "Welcome to The Rock," as Sean Connery. Absolutely. There's so many questions. There's so many jokes you can make about that movie and the topic of today. Alexis, I believe that in order to talk about The Rock, we have to start out by talking about Caliban.
So yeah, there is a lot to cover to explain what Caliban was, and is now. We have to talk about the difference of Dark Angels from then and now. You have to mention how the Rock changed the Rockets, changed the Dark Angels themselves. We have to explain potentially when Luther betrayed the Lion, because we still don't know when that is. At the current time of recording, the Scouring books are still being written, and the battle is more than likely going to be set in those. But let's talk about Caliban, the forest planet.
Oh, sorry, I saw a quote. We just got it. If you smell the Eternal Crusader. Thank you for that Dwayne Johnson reference. All right. Do you want to talk about Caliban first?
So I'll do a quick summary, and then you'll do the smart guy Well, actually, I'm joking.
I try not to do that. I promise I'm
No,
not trying to
you're
do
totally fine. You're totally fine. I like the idea that I give like short and sweet versions of it, and then you do the deeper dives, and then I add my own like colorful commentary to it. It's a lot of fun.
that. Okay.
I think we have like great charisma. Yes,
Ke-
that's the
uh,
word.
On-air chemistry, I think, is probably the better
Yes.
way to put that.
So, Caliban. So, we took an entire forest scarier than Catachan and more corrupt than almost all demon worlds, and that's where the lion was. And somehow he's a loyalist. Because most loyalist Primarchs, because we do need to talk about the Primarchs really quickly, they were scattered to a whole bunch of different worlds. They were either scattered by Urda or the Chaos Forces or something else. All three are canon, by the way, which is really cool. And I love that we don't know which one is actually the one that worked. But anyway, Primarchs were scattered. Lion landed on this planet. Usually, when Space Marine Primarchs land on planets, the spookier the planet or the worse the planet is, the more likely they are to be chaos. When two Primarchs crashed into Rome. One crashed into the slave pits, the other one crashed into bureaucracy. And take a wild guess which one remains loyal.
Oh,
But
that's good.
Caliban was this horrific world that suffered with warp storms for a very long time. The creatures on the planet were actually chaos corrupted. So, this is the first time in Warhammer where they state that chaos is a thing. The lion has known about it the entire time. The lion, as a baby, was shot into the middle of the forest, and no one found him, and he was raised a little bit by himself until knights found him. But on this world, it was a very much a feudalistic world set around like I want to say 13th to 14th century, like Earth history, like those kinds of knights, like Crusade era knights, but almost like if GW is brave, Gaelic knights, but GW is not brave. So I'm gonna make jokes about that a lot, by the way. But these knights were they built these massive fortresses, these castles, and they had knightly orders. They had a whole bunch of oh my god, what are they called? The not the knights, the hexagrammatons uh, that were on their armor that warded away these monsters. So they had a primitive version of fighting chaos without realizing what it really was. These knights would go around the planet and try to quell the beasts, though they couldn't. They were constantly being pushed back, and their fortresses were slowly being overtaken until the lion appeared. And they found him. Luther was the man that found him, and they brought him in, and he quickly grew and became a very mighty warrior. Caliban was this super dense forest death world that is absolutely horrific. Your worst nightmares were in the woods. I'm pretty sure at the age of like 6, Lion probably killed a werewolf, a witch, and probably several other mythical creatures. Is that a good description of Caliban?
I mean, you've hit a lot of the high points, for sure. Caliban was a death world, and it was a serious death world, like Alexis is talking about. It was extremely hazardous. It was in the Segmentum Obscurus, and it is it is the home world of the Dark Angels Legion from the Horus Heresy era. It was marked by deadly chaos warped forests and feudal knightly societies, but its history spans a pretty good chunk of time during and slightly after the Great Crusade. So the lush but lethal forests of Caliban were teeming with things called great beasts. These were monsters mutated by chaos because the proximity of the Eye of Terror was actually very close. Caliban is not Cadia close, but it's close. And I did see a fun question here from Rush 21129 who asks, "The beasts of the forests, what are they, please? It's been a while since I read the Dark Angel Horus Heresy books." So the beasts of the forest, they were called the Great Beasts of Caliban. They were aggressive, highly aggressive, actually, mutated predators. They infested the planet's deadly forests. They were warped by chaos energies. They ruled the wilds. They forced the humans on Caliban into fortified settlements, essentially castles or keeps. And these lush forests, they hid the great beasts fairly well. It was difficult to see them until they were on top of you. One of the reasons why they were so dangerous. They were described as chimeric horrors. They blended reptile, mammal, insect traits into unique and singular abominations. They're not demons, and they're not what do you call it? They're not chaos spawn or anything like that. But they are chaos tainted. And
this is capital C chaos.
Right. They were extraordinarily large, strong, ferocious, and cunning. To survive in the forest, it required constant vigilance because the forest paths were basically death traps for these guys. Some examples of the great beasts is the Calibanite lion, which of course would come to be named. This would form the name of the Primarch Lionel Johnson. And the Calibanite lion was a massive beast, very fast, blade-like mane, rock-like armored limbs, saber fangs, serpentine orange eyes, and Lionel Johnson killed a lot of these guys. There was a thing called the Horn of Ruin, which was a multi-eyed terror, a thing called the Crag Shadow, which was a winged monster, and something called Reaver Worms, which were these armored, swift worms, compound eyes, mandibles.
How is a worm swift?
They had legs. These were almost like centipedes.
That's not a worm then. Do they mean worm like dragon?
I mean, it's wormish. It's
Ross, somehow I blame exactly you for this, even though you didn't write it.
Well, I didn't write it. I definitely did not. So that's a great beast for you, just to give you a quick insight into that. The humans survived in stone fortresses. These were ruled by techno-feudal knights who rode destriers into battle. These knights, they were part of a group called the Order, and they had a primitive version of power armor because they had they were from one of the early human colonies and had STC gear. So they had actually like very, very primitive forms of power armor, which I thought was really cool. And I think to my eyes, the Order is very obviously based on the Knights Templar. Alexis has some different thoughts on this, which if you would like to share them.
Okay, so at one point, GW was almost brave enough to split the Knights to make the Dark Angel Knights more Gaelic and make the Black Templar the Knights Templar. But then GW did a horrible job with it and then pivoted right away from it. But
the Black Templars are based on the Knights Hospitaller.
Yeah, I know, which is super. Yeah, it was so weird. They could have had like really, really cool knights that were Irish, and they chose not to.
Jake Wu says, "Didn't they also have chainswords?" Yes, they also had chainswords. The Order did.
They also had primitive power swords.
Maybe true, but
I know it's in their artwork. I don't know if it's actually in their lore. So artwork is, not entirely canon. Sometimes artwork appears in the lore itself as propaganda pieces. Truth.
So the Order was this knightly group, and they essentially rode out into the forest to try and protect the people of Caliban. They were, again, there's no good guys in 40K, but the Order was, their motives were solid. Like they wanted to protect the people of Caliban, and they needed to, because without the Order, without the fortresses, the Great Beast would kind of tear everyone apart. So then we have the Primarch Lionel Johnson, and the short version is the Emperor of mankind on Terra, through science and warpcraft, created 20 or 21, depending on who you talk to.
It's 21. Twins are two people.
20 or 21, depending on who you talk to, demigods, essentially, called Primarchs. These were, each of them had their own personality and their own beliefs and their own traditions and things like that, but they were essentially the sons of the Emperor. Like he used some of his own knowledge as well as his own DNA and things to make them. The Primarchs were scattered across the galaxy, including through space and time. Typically, most people point to chaos as being the ones who caused this, but some of the novels from the Horus Heresy have added twists to that. But essentially, what you need to know is they were scattered across space and time. And Lionel Johnson, one of these Primarchs, landed on Caliban as a baby, essentially. But Primarchs are demigods. They are extremely powerful compared to a normal person, compared to a Space Marine, even compared to a Custodian. They are extremely powerful.
Just some feats that Primarchs have done as infants is fight off Cabal Raiders, fight a Void Dragon potentially, fight off the Beasts of Caliban, navigate through the horrific wasteland that was Trigoris and survive, and navigate bureaucracy.
Yeah, well, one of those kids did become Rubute Gilliman, who has like the best mom and had the best upbringing. It's kind of amazing. Where was I? So Lionel Johnson, he did not have a mom or a dad. He was left alone in this forest and grew up kind of like Tarzan. He was just out there killing great beasts and learning their ways and being by himself, right? Well, eventually he was located by a knight of the order called Luther. Luther was one of the commanders. He was the head of the order, and he had heard rumors that there was a child in the forests who was killing great beasts. And he's like, I have to see this person. I must find out who this is. And Luther rides out. He finds Lionel Johnson. I'm trying to keep this short, guys. I do apologize, but we have to provide some context before we get to the actual rock. So Luther and Lionel Johnson work together. The Lion learns the ways of the knightly, the order, and leads the order over the next decade or so on crusades into the forests, and they kill all the great beasts. They essentially pacify Caliban and usher in a golden age of peace on Caliban through their efforts to eradicate the monsters.
Now, Ross, you would think that would deserve some kind of celebration. Like the orders would all come together. They would be like, yeah, this is great. No, Space Dad came down and destroyed most of the planet.
Well, there's a lot. Yes, that is technically how it happens, but it's over a long period of time. So then the Emperor arrived at Caliban because the Emperor was going around during the Great Crusade, rounding up all of his lost Primarchs, reuniting them with their legions. And the Dark Angels, they were the first legion. They were the very first organized group of Space Marines that existed during the Great Crusade. It is often said that the Dark Angels actually closed out the Unification Wars by killing off all the Thunder Warriors, for example. Anyway, so the Emperor arrives and the Dark Angels Legion is formed. The young knights of the order, they're all become Space Marines. The older ones, like Luther, received enhancements to become kind of like Space Marines. This is something that was really only done during the Great Crusade because they had access to all this.
So it's really weird because there are like weird janky cases in 40K where it happens. Lucas the Trickster is one such case. But it's like the Dark Angels really knew how to do this. They were the chapter. They were the chapter that actually did it a lot.
Well, no, because Corferin in the Wordbearers is the same way. Magistus Aemon in the Thousand Sons is the same way. Like every legion had a few guys that were enhanced because they were just really good friends, or they were mentors, or they were parents or father figures to the Primarch, and it was very, very important that those guys go with them on the crusade. So they spent a lot of time and resources to take an adult, or even in some cases an elderly person, and give them the enhancements required to give them the abilities of a Space Marine. In all cases, though, these guys are described as being like just barely a Space Marine. Like they're not. None of them are exceptional in any way, besides the fact that they're just kind of around. I suppose Magistus Aemon is like a really, really good psyker, but that's not part of the body. So Just
No, and I'm assuming he could just hold himself together with his psychic might through the procedures.
I mean, I don't know. But the procedure was done on Aemon, it was done on Corferin, and it was done on Luther.
Oh yeah, Typhon of the Death Guard also.
Right. Typhon, of course, is a strange case because he's half alien. We'll have to do an episode on him sometime.
Yeah, that's a really weird case because it's like, how did you not know?
Well,
I should definitely trust this guy that's going to betray my whole legion. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
No, that's fair because Typhon is actually the reason why the Death Guard fell to chaos in the first place.
Yep.
So yeah, that would be a real. I just made sure to add him to the list because we definitely need to talk about it.
Because anytime we hear something cool, we got to talk about it. But interestingly enough, the Dark Angels themselves, after Sky Daddy came down, the Emperor, unless you want to continue.
There is one more important thing I need to just get out of the way. So once they took all the knights and made them space marines, the Imperium industrialized Caliban. They destroyed all the forests and created parking lots and manufactoria. They paved over all the castles and created mustering grounds and landing fields. They basically transformed Caliban from what it had been into what you need for a Legion homeworld. And this was a change that was not met with joy. Most of the order felt like they were being sidelined. Like if you weren't young enough to get the procedures, you had to just kind of, go do anything you want. Just you can't be here, right? And Luther.
What's so strange about the Order, though, is that they weren't even made into the Planetary Defense Force. They were completely sidelined.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure some of them made it into it, but they didn't make it into the Solar Auxilia or anything that accompanied the Dark Angels.
So there was a lot of growing resentment on Caliban about what happened. Yeah, if you were not in the Dark Angels Legion, you were not happy about what had happened to Caliban. That was the point I needed to make.
Yeah. So, as all of this was happening, there was a lot of people who really didn't like what was happening. Hang on a second. I got to close the door real quick because it gets really loud.
Yeah. Well, so, hey, we have a super chat here. I will read that while Alexis is gone. Vire7 says, "Sup, guys?" I'm going to read this like a 90s kid. "Sup, guys? The Rock Fortress is cool and all, but is there perhaps some Iron Hands lore hiding beneath the rock there? I am not desperate. I'm just reasonable." We're definitely going to talk about the Iron Hands for sure. It's just a thing that we will get to eventually. But
I can mention one thing about the Iron Hands really quickly. They have a gigantic semi-sentient starfish star fort that eats planets, and it's only mentioned in one story.
Yeah, I mean, it's the legend of Ferrus Manus is that he fought some kind of liquid metal beast, and that the liquid metal coated his hands and all the way up to his elbows, really, after that battle, and it is shockingly similar to necrodermis, which is the living metal that the Necrons use.
I got the Iron Hands and the Iron Warriors mixed up. Sorry, my bad. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Our Warriors are cool. I mean, we talk about them too. But this guy, I think you did ask for Iron Hands, right? Yeah, Iron Hands lore. Yeah. So, that is what's going on there. So, just hang on. Do I have they? The Iron Hands have a weird grudge against their fellow loyalists, the Salamanders and the Raven Guard. They kind of blame them for their Primarch getting killed at Isstvan 5. There's another little fun piece of lore for you, which we will definitely talk about. We're going to talk about Isstvan 5 and the Drop Site Massacre. We're going to talk about Ferrus Manus because he's a Primarch. And we're going to talk about the Iron Hands because they're a Legion and a chapter, and they're frighteningly good in the Horus Heresy game, by the way. Frighteningly.
Yeah.
Kind of sidelined in 40k, but in 30k they're badass. So sorry, we're
getting back to Caliban, so we could try to get through Caliban. The only other things that we need to note is that Cypher was growing a bit concerned
The
with
Cypher.
the Cypher, who is also the Cypher.
No, it's a title.
Yeah.
It's like 007. It's you can have multiple guys named Cypher, but at this time, the original Cypher, the first Cypher.
Yeah. Who might also be Cypher.
He might. We don't know that for sure, but it's possible.
So to explain this really quickly, the Dark Angels have a character called Cypher. He is a character that dual wields pistols. He's called a Delgatus or something like that in Heresy. But he's also known as the Cypher. He's the master librarian, essentially, of the Dark Angels, keeps track of all of their records and everything. And even he was starting to notice all of the discontent with the Dark Angels, and he would stop outside influences from coming in. So he kept everything that was happening on Caliban secret from everyone else. This included Nathaniel Garrow later on in the story.
Yeah, Cypher is or Lord Cypher. It's a title.
Yeah.
And it's held by one selected knight, and their role is to embody and preserve the traditions, laws, and rituals of the order. When you became the Cypher, you renounced your name, you donned a hooded cloak, and you advised masters on protocol while officiating ceremonies. The goal was to forsake your identity in order to personify the order's ideals. And this meant that the knightly standards would be upheld during beast hunts and feudal wars and things like that.
So one of the things I wanted to mention with him is that he was starting to keep records on both sides of the conflict, which is hugely important because the Dark Angel Space Marines were loyal, but they were concerned. But the Terran-born Dark Angels were loyal specifically to Lion and not Caliban, where the Dark Angels that were raised on Caliban were still semi-loyal to their planet. Yeah.
Well, some of this was also, frankly, because Luther was left behind on Caliban while the Lion went off to do the Great Crusade with the Legion.
Yep.
The Luther, his mentor and father figure, was left behind to essentially. The Lion was like, "Okay, make me more Space Marines and just keep sending them, and that's what I need you to do." And
there is another story there, but yeah, it's pretty much that.
The thing about the Lion that needs to be said right here, right now, the Lion, exceptional commander, exceptional duelist, not beloved, respected by his men, but not beloved. Like they did not. There's nobody likes the Lion. They respect him, but nobody really likes him.
Yeah,
and he makes poor choices that make people not like him. Like this is his fault. Okay,
like handing over siege weapons to the wrong side, telling Primarchs that he should have just been there so he could have killed the other Primarch.
I mean, it gets
punching out Lehman Russ. Totally winning that fight, by the way.
I mean, for a certain value of winning.
Who's standing at the end of that fight?
Right. I'm just it's questionable. Like, did he really win? Because what? Anyway.
Yeah. So Lion is off doing his own thing. Caliban. We're back to Caliban, which is almost the Rock.
Almost.
We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so the Knights of Caliban are growing disconcerted. Luther gets sent back because he needs to do recruitment, but Luther views it as more of a punishment because he saw devastating weaponry aboard the ship that the Lion was on and actually thought about killing the Lion. And he thought that the Lion knew about that, and that's why he's being sent back. But we don't know whether or not the Lion actually cared about that because the Lion is completely indifferent and never brings it up.
Tywin Lannister is a pretty good example of what the Lion was like. A respected man who nobody likes, if you've ever seen the Game of Thrones. In fact, the model of the Lion, his face is very Tywin Lannister for that reason.
Yeah.
We have a member for 4 months. Thank you, Sebastian Miller. Appreciate you. Zinch, everything is part of the plan. I mean, it sometimes seems that way, but it also seems like Zinch makes poor plans. So I don't know. All right, getting back to Caliban. So the Horus Heresy kicks off. Half the galaxy is fighting out the other half of the galaxy, and Horus. This is just to try and make a long story very, very short. Horus was this extremely well-liked Primarch. He was considered the Emperor's favorite son. He was given the title of War Master while the Emperor went back to Earth to work on a project. So Horus was sort of left in charge of the Great Crusade. But Horus got corrupted by chaos and turned half the legions against the other half of the legions. So this was a big, massive galactic civil war that wrecked
Everything.
centuries. It wrecked centuries of advances in the Imperium, and over a period of 10 years, just cast a whole bunch of the galaxy into ruin. While this is happening, while Luther and his guys are still feeling all this resentment, and they're like, "Hey, do we follow Horus? Is Horus the right guy?" Because Horus, again, very well respected, everyone liked him, and he was announced as the War Master, so there was definitely good reasons to be like, hey, maybe Horus is right, maybe we should fight against the Imperium. And so the Lion shows up with his fleets at Caliban, intending to gather a new batch of recruits and then head to Terra to take part in the heresy, to defend the Emperor's palace. However, he didn't, tell anybody that was what he was intending to do. And Luther, it's arguable whether Luther was corrupted by chaos at this point. A lot of people believe that he was. It's certainly written from the Imperium's point of view in the lore that he was in fact corrupted by chaos at this point.
It is stated that he was a champion of chaos when he did fight Lion.
Right, which, like I said, it's through the lens of the Imperium, and when it comes to the schism between the Dark Angels, things get very floaty. Are they chaos or are they just anti-Imperium? It's hard to say. Some Dark Angels, anyway. So the Dark Angels fought with Luther against the Lion. They became known as the Fallen Angels, and they too were scattered throughout time and space by chaos,
as one does.
Which, the involvement of chaos in the battles does strongly imply that they were invested in Luther,
yeah,
and that there was a level of corruption present. I want to be really clear: not all fallen angels are corrupted by chaos.
In fact, some of them live normal lives as Oghren.
But some of them certainly were, and Luther certainly was. I think we can safely say Luther was corrupted by chaos.
Yeah.
So Luther and Lionel Johnson have this duel in a place called the Tower of Angels. The Dark Angels are having this civil war, fighting against each other, and the duel ends with a warp storm that erupts on Caliban. Yeah, again, more evidence of chaos involvement. And the warp storm destroys most of the planet. It shatters Caliban.
Well, also, Lion's ships and fleets were barraging the planet.
Right, they were opening fire, but it's not like the fleet had the power to destroy a planet, because they have the power to wipe out all life on the planet, certainly, but the destroying a planet is not something that typically a fleet can do in 40K.
Well, I mean, if they have a vortex torpedo, they can, but they have to call those in specially, and
this is why I say typically.
Yeah.
Typically, they don't have that firepower. Anyway, so Caliban shatters, and the largest surviving piece of Caliban is the area directly underneath the Tower of Angels. And this surviving piece of Caliban became known as the Rock.
One other thing that I want to add to this is, as the planet was being barraged, as these warp storms were happening, an ancient system was turned on the rock itself that created a Guller field that is so powerful that it's still active to this day, which is weird that demons tend to bypass it, but we're not going to talk about that part yet. But this Guller field was so powerful that when the planet cracked and was destroyed and obliterated underneath the firepower of the destruction of the Dark Angel fleet, plus this warp storm, that the rock and the subsequent mountain and levels underneath it survived. This became the rock itself, and its nickname is the rock. I think it's called the Fortress of Angels is the actual name of it, or one of its names.
Well, yeah, it has other names.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need to mention here is two things. First of all, the lion vanished at the end of the fight. Secretly, he was taken to a chamber within the rock. And
Mm-hmm.
Luther was captured by the loyalists, and he also was taken to a chamber within the rock. The lion was essentially unconscious.
Sleeping Beauty.
He was essentially asleep. But Luther was awake and ranting and raving. So there's that.
Now, when Lion was taken away, he did disappear momentarily. The older lore states that he slipped into the warp itself and was pulled there by the forces of chaos. Newer lore is a little bit vague on that, because he might have gone to the forest where the Watchers carried him into a chamber that is secret to everyone, including the Grand Master of the Dark Angels. Didn't know where he was. They didn't even know he was on the rock. But the Watchers in the Dark did. The Watchers in the Dark are a creature that exists on the planet itself, and all of the Dark Angels know about it, and no one talks about it for some reason. The Emperor knows about their existence. Other chapter masters know about their existence, but for some reason, no one decides to talk about it. The only lore that we have for them is that they have the ability to walk in and out of the warp into a place called, or in and out of reality to a place called the Forest. And there, the Emperor is, well, part of the Emperor is, and the Lion can slip in and out of to teleport around the galaxy and to teleport to times that he's needed, which is vaguely mentioned in his book, which means that he was always active while asleep.
I don't think
Sure,
so.
why
I
not?
don't think he was active while he was asleep.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't think
either,
so.
because it would have popped up.
Yeah,
But
somebody would have said, "Hey, that's a Primarch."
yeah, but
It's
it's
not like they're
stated,
subtle. You know?
yeah, but in his book, it's like, oh, he can pop up in space time, and it's like, can he though?
Would you
Really?
would you do me a favor and find a picture of a Watcher in the Dark? Because I think
Yeah,
people need
sure.
to see what it looks like. Watchers in the Dark. These are very mysterious, enigmatic, diminutive, hooded individuals. They're native to Caliban, but now they inhabit the rock. They are, according to some lore, they appeared on Caliban as heralds of doom, even before Lionel Johnson showed up. And they subtly guided the knights against the corruption of chaos. They're about child-sized, and they seem to have like pretty immense psychic powers. They wield anti-demon weapons, and they seem to be immune to almost any form of harm, which is really surprising, including Chaos Taint. And during the fall of Caliban, they sided with the Loyalists against Luther. The Lord Cypher was one of the people that they worked with. They are also the ones who carried the wounded Lion, who was wounded by Luther, carried Lion into the rock, and they are responsible for secreting him away from almost everyone else.
Okay.
What are they? I mean, they are extremely mysterious. Most people don't know what they are. In fact, I don't think the lore has ever explicitly said exactly what they are. But I have some theories.
So in the card game, the original card game, they were listed as a chaos creature. Now, that is not canon because it's a card game. And in other card games, the Horus Heresy trading card game, that is terrible, they are also listed as a chaos creature. But what they actually are is, who knows? There are theories about them, but there's not really much information about them.
I do have a couple of theories that I was going to bring up. Is one possibility, because they seem to be so anti-chaos as creatures, and because they seem to be very, very strongly psychic, they might be either a creation of the old ones or maybe the old ones themselves.
Maybe.
The other one, and I actually like this one a little bit better, is they are a embodiment of the Legion's shame.
I would love that.
Right? Except
But
that they were before
yeah, they
Lightning showed up.
exist before that.
But the warp is weird, and time is weird with the warp, so it's possible it's one of those things where they merged before the cause. We don't know. Speculating. Pure speculation.
Also, they were strong enough in one story to detect the changeling.
They were actually able to drive the changeling off.
Yeah, which
they were able to drive him away because
the changeling is the second strongest demon that Tzeentch has.
Again, the Watchers are very anti-chaos and apparently they have a pretty strong psychic presence. So that's really all we know about them, unfortunately. Some sort of ancient anti-chaos guardians who saved the lion, and maybe they are also kind of a symbol of the mystery of the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels are big on mystery. Straight out of the rock, baby. Love that image. Oh, that's great.
I saw this and I was like, yeah, I gotta post that.
That's awesome. We have Mr. Mike of the Grail says the changeling was legit scared of them, and I mean, I can understand it because they are.
It had to sneak around them. Like, also, we've never seen a Blank and the Watchers in the same place. There is a comic book where an Inquisitor looks at one, and then in the next panel, the Watcher is gone, which might mean that she saw it, maybe. But it's never brought up. So Watchers exist.
Yes.
And the Emperor definitely knows about them, but never talked about them.
So that's basically the history of the Rock up to its creation. And
there are some things in the Horus Heresy that we do need to mention.
Okay.
The Rock itself is something that the Dark Angels, it's their fortress. It's where they keep their prisoners. It's also where they keep ancient technology that the Emperor wants hidden. The Emperor has entrusted the Men of Iron to the Dark Angels, and the Dark Angels keep them shackled up in the Rock.
Well, they keep a certain type of battle automata, a battle robot that has an unshackled AI in it. So it is at least Men of Iron adjacent. Yes. And you're right. Part of the thing about the Dark Angels is that during the Crusade, they were trusted by the Emperor to deal with things that he didn't want anybody else to witness. And a lot of their actions during the Great Crusade are actually hidden or obscured because they needed to keep those things secret. So the secretive nature of the chapter got its start from the very, very beginning. They were always this closed off, mysterious group. And the Hexagrammaton, which was born on Caliban, was different suborders of knights that had their own individual specialties and things like that. And they kept that into the Legion. So the Dark Angels Legion actually has 6 subfactions. There's the Raven Wing, which are all about speed, the Iron Wing, which are all about armored vehicles, the Dread Wing, which are all about using prescribed weapons to destroy planets, things like radiation missiles and toxic flamers and stuff like that. They're nasty, but I love them. We'll talk more about the Dread Wing in another episode. There's the Fire Wing, which were assassins. There was the Storm Wing, which was just a massive infantry unit.
Yep, Bolter Wing.
Right, and who am I missing? Raven Wing.
Deathwing.
Deathwing, and the Deathwing, which is their first company. It is the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the most dedicated swordsmen of the order.
And we will talk about those when we actually cover Dark Angels. Today we are trying our hardest to focus it on the Rock. But there are other things that are in the Rock that I always found interesting. Like a lot of old Dark Angel artwork shows like ancient concept art of dreadnoughts, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek that the Dark Angels have older variants of the dreadnought that aren't like mass produced, like the original this is an in joke, by the way. This isn't like canon lore, but it is funny to see that GW takes the piss every now and then. The original Contemptor Dreadnought, the old like jelly bean looking Dreadnought, is within the Rock. They have the what's that Dreadnought? Space Crusade Dreadnought, which was the inspiration for the Deredeo, is painted up. There's one painted up as a Dark Angel that's again implied to be on the Rock. So it's really funny that GW takes the piss out of it, like saying all that older stuff is actually still canon. It's just the Dark Angels have it.
The Dark Angels have vast reserve. They have large reserves of plasma weaponry, which is rare amongst the other legions. They have special swords called Tyrannic Great Swords. They have
the Tyrannic Great Blade, yes.
They have special force field generators called the Aegis. They have plasma flamers, which are pretty unique.
The plasma burner.
Yeah. Also a plasma incinerator. They have they have tons of stuff that other chapters just don't have access to, because the Emperor opened the vaults and basically gave them access to almost everything they wanted or needed to destroy the weirdest, creepiest aliens in the galaxy.
So within their vaults themselves, they have a different template for a land speeder that was never mass produced. They have two different variants of this thing called the Dark Shroud and the other one that I can't remember with the two plasma cannons. The Dark Shroud has a force fields thing on it. It is a bubble that emits this darkness that the Dark Angels can slip in and out of. They can see out of it. You can't see into it. The Dark Angels also, after the getting back to the Rock itself, the ancient Guller Field generator that protects the Rock also hums with like almost the screams of the wicked and the horrific stuff that has happened in the past is trapped within the Guller Field. So every now and then the Guller Field will just scream at you. And this has to do with the fact that there was such a powerful warp storm and the planet was being blown up, and all of that was trapped within the Guller Field itself and is still technically contained there. So there are echoes of the battle that happened within the Guller Field itself. So I'm just imagining like you're walking down the Rock one day to your favorite rock and roll museum, and then all of a sudden like a face just appears next to you, screams at you. You're just like, ugh.
We got a super chat here. We've got to read it. Friender Trader, thank you for this one, buddy. This is one of my favorite super chats of all time. Friender Trader says, "What is the culinary tradition of the Dark Angels? Any notable traditions? I guess what I'm really asking is, can you smell what the Rock is cooking?" Turkey legs, steak on a stick. Anything you could find at a Ren fair, you could probably find it. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just guessing. But that's a great joke. I do appreciate that.
That is a fantastic joke. We appreciate puns here.
The most important thing we need to know about the Dark Angels post the Horus Heresy is that they did split up their legion into multiple chapters, but they all basically prioritized the mission of hunting down the Fallen over anything else. The guilt, the shame, the fear that the Imperium would turn on them like they turned on all the other traitor legions has kept the Dark Angels in this cycle of hunting down their own brothers and being super secretive about it, and even to the point of killing anyone who investigates too closely what they're up to.
It's rather amusing that none of the Fallen went to like an Inquisitor and talked to them.
Oh, I'm sure at least one or two did, and then they were probably killed.
Yeah. But that's actually the Will of Iron comic series. Is that exact thing happens.
There's a lot to talk about with the Fallen and what they've been up to, but that is not what the show's about. So
yeah.
To put it simply, the Fallen were scattered across space and time. The Dark Angels hunt them, and the Fallen typically either hide or join up with Chaos forces to fight against the Imperium.
Yep. Or they scrape their shoulder pad, pretend not to be Dark Angels anymore, and join the Death Watch.
That has also happened.
Yep.
That has also happened. Which is a fun little fact, because I kind of wrote the book on the Death Watch. When the Dark Angels send a person to the Death Watch, they are very careful not to send anyone who's a member of the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is the very secretive upper class, if you will, of the Dark Angels. They are the only ones who really know all their history and all about the Fallen. Your typical Dark Angel Space Marine is like, yeah, we have a lot of secrets and they don't really talk to me and tell me like what happened, but we know something bad happened and we have to make up for it. But a guy in the Inner Circle is like, yeah, they know everything and they know about the Fallen. So when they send a Space Marine to the Death Watch, that Space Marine that they send is almost never a member of the Inner Circle, but is almost always told to watch out for certain code words, signals, and symbols that may represent the Fallen, so that he can send that information back to the home chapter.
I met this really nice Black Shield when I went there. Knew a whole lot about our chapter's history.
Yeah,
really nice guy.
Yeah, they'd be like,
Yeah.
So that's the short version of what the Dark Angel's been up to.
Now, the fortress itself was floating there in space, and because this is Warhammer 40K, they decided to weaponize it.
Yeah, they turned it into their fortress monastery, and they made it mobile. They put engines on it so it can actually fly around.
They literally made an attack rock.
An attack moon?
They sort of made an attack moon.
Yeah, they kind of did.
So it's debated whether or not it is the biggest fortress in the galaxy, the biggest mobile fortress in the galaxy. It is bigger than the Phalanx. It's just flat out bigger than the Phalanx. But we don't know the exact size of the rock itself. It is described as the size of a mountain in some tales, but in others it's described as even bigger. And it has inside it, they dug so many tunnels and so many secret pathways and everything within the mountain underneath it, that there are mazes upon mazes upon mazes within the inner workings of the rock that hide so many secrets, and most of it, even some of the Inner Circle doesn't fully know. Azrael is the only one that knows as much as he can about the rock itself.
So the comparison with the Phalanx is the fortress monastery of the Imperial Fists, and it is the size of a small moon. The debate seems to be over which one is bigger. The rock is larger by volume, certainly. Yeah. The Phalanx may be more by mass, but the rock is technically bigger, just not. It is not an easy comparison. Like, you can't just look at them and go, okay, that one's bigger. You have to kind of measure it a little bit. But they're both massive. They're immense.
We have seen examples of the Phalanx in Battlefleet Gothic. Keep in mind, Battlefleet Gothic's scale is way off, considering that you can land the gargantuan ships in the Phalanx, and the gargantuan ships are like next to the Phalanx, and it's like the same size in Battlefleet Gothic, the video game. So bear in mind, the video games don't represent the actual sizes, but the rock was described as too big for the video game. And I'm like, I feel like the video game designer has a favorite.
Quite possibly. The rock is also known as the Angelicasta, or, as Alexis pointed out, the Tower of Angels. Those are the names it has.
Now, that's not to be confused with the Tower of Angels, that is also a terrain piece, and the Tower of Angel. There's another tower that's Angel that is also a terrain piece that is in Old World. So don't get those confused. They're completely different. GW definitely knows how to name things uniquely.
It houses ancient relics, Dark Age technology, and the comatose body, up until recently, that is, and the comatose body of Primaric Lionel Johnson. It's one of the Imperium's most fortified structures outside of Terra, and it has endured warp storms and sieges and even internal betrayals over its time, which is a lot. The central spire of the order had a name. I think it's Alderuk, something like that. And this was eventually became the Tower of Angels. The debris that's all that's left of Caliban besides the rock is just like a debris field. It's just like Alderaan in Empire Strikes Back. It's just a bunch of rocks. They're little rocks, not the big rock, little rocks floating around in space. Their interior of the rock, well, it has lots of guns, void shields, warp engines, and the fleet, the Dark Angels fleet, typically escorts it when it moves from place to place. So it is rarely encountered alone. There are armories and librariums and gene seed vaults and Thunderhawk bays and surf quarters. There are over 1,000 Astartes on it at any given time.
Which is, you know, a number that's pretty big.
Well,
but when it comes to the Dark Angels still operate very, very strongly like a legion instead of like a bunch of separate chapters. They all still swear their allegiance to Azrael. And
Supreme Grand Master Azrael.
Yeah, Supreme Grand Master Azrael. And they can be coordinated very quickly by him. But it's definitely Codex compliant, sort of.
Yeah, the successor chapters of the Dark Angels are much more tightly bound by tradition and law than any other chapter that's split up, and it is implied in the lore, heavily implied, that the Dark Angels Legion never really stopped being a legion. They just sort of sent off detachments and said, "Oh yes, we are compliant." In fact, the reason why I said there's over 1,000 is because all of their successor chapters have some sort of liaison detachment aboard the rock.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, there's the Watchers of the Dark, which are also on board the rock.
Yep.
Now, the Dark Angels' purpose after the heresy was to capture and redeem the fallen angels. And what they do is they find these fallen angels, they capture them, they bring them back to the rock, and they take them down into the dungeons, which there are massive dungeons in the rock. And there, the interrogator chaplains, which is their version of chaplains in the Dark Angels, they will, question these fallen and try to find out where other fallen are and find out, what they plan to do. And
all I can imagine is that scene from SpongeBob. What color's my underwear?
Typically, the fallen are executed after they are "quote unquote" redeemed. But at any given time, there are several fallen aboard the rock as well.
Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things, though, about the rock is that they have a very, very unique psychona for interrogation. So one of their psychers is specially trained to probe people's minds for any bit of information. And we're talking about Dark Angels are so paranoid that if they catch wind that a commander was using a bolt pistol or a plasma pistol, but the actual story for that guy doesn't have those weapons, they will go and investigate it. They are insanely paranoid.
Well,
in fact, it's one of my favorite short stories is they're trying to find Cypher, and this old man is celebrating like being a great war hero. Turns out a few hundred years ago, Cypher helped them. And they just tear down everything and burn him. And they're just like, no, none of this. All of this is fake. But that story also has a Space Marine turn invisible because he's in Corvus armor. So take that with a grain of salt.
There was, the Rock was involved in several big events. The first one we would talk about is the Siege of Fenris. Do you remember this one?
Oh, yeah, when the Changeling tricked the Dark Angels into attacking the Space Wolves. When the Space Wolves themselves got back the 13th Company, and the Dark Angels got images of the 13th Company ripping apart innocent civilians. And they were just like, well, I guess they all went to chaos. Time to execute the executioners.
So the short version of the Siege of Fenris is Magnus the Red and the Thousand Sons. They invaded the Space Wolves' home system, which is Fenris. They were seeking vengeance for the burning of Prospero, and they assaulted 3 worlds. They assaulted Fenris, Midgardia, and Frostteam. The Rock dramatically arrived during all of this, crashed into Fenris's orbit, ostensibly to aid the beleaguered Space Wolves. And what they did is they bombarded the planet from orbits. Primarily bombarding the Chaos Forces. But then they docked with the Fang. They delivered their reinforcements. Grey Knights briefly came aboard, but were then kicked out of the Rock. The Dark Angels were like, get the hell out. No, You are not allowed here.
Get out of, we'll turn on the Gullerfields and you guys will freak out.
Yeah, so the Dark Angels kind of came to the rescue of the Space Wolves, which they have a rivalry. The two groups have a very long-lasting, distinct rivalry that's been in the fiction been in the lore actually since the very first mention of them. They've always had this rivalry. So it's a big deal that the Dark Angels came to the Space Wolves' assistance here. But this was also partly like they had a prophecy that there were fallen sighted on Fenris, and so that was really why they came. And right as soon as they won, without saying a freaking word, they withdrew. They just were out. Bye. So they turned the tide, but it was a very self-serving rescue, if you will, and hinted, of course, at their agenda. The second thing we should talk about.
Let me try to fix my camera real quick. Are you going to focus? No.
Actually, do you have anything you wanted to say about the Siege of Fenris?
Yeah, there was one scene in there, including an Inquisitor, where Bjorn the Fell-Handed moved her hair out of her face and made her blush.
That's right.
Yeah, Bjorn the Fell-Handed was hitting on an Inquisitor. And he was also acting as the chapter master while Logan Grimnar was missing.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the Pandarax campaign, also called the Pandarax Incursion. Abaddon the Despoiler and the Black Legion and the Death Guard, they invaded the Pandarax system to unleash something called the Damnation Cache, which was a buried warp portal, basically, on the death world of Pythos. The Catachans were defending the planet, but then the Grey Knights and the Dark Angels intervened to help. The Dark Angels chapter, led by Supreme Grandmaster Azrael, which is the most pretentious freaking title in all of 40K, they arrived...
It really is. I can only think of one more pretentious title, and that is Fuhrer Emperor King Bradley.
What's that from?
Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, right. Okay. So the Rock used its massive firepower against the Chaos fleets at Pandarax, deployed the Deathwing and the Ravenwing for key strikes on Pythos. Azrael and the other named characters of the Dark Angels, they turned the tide against Abaddon's forces. And Huron Blackheart was there. By the way, we have a whole episode on Huron Blackheart. Go check him out. He's awesome.
Hey, guys.
And once again, they interacted with the Grey Knights. And there was a lot of tension over secrets between them. But ultimately, they worked side by side. And it was the Rock, though, because you have this moon-sized, fortress in space. It anchored the Imperial lines, and it enabled counteroffensives, and they eventually routed all the invaders. Which this is kind of the Rock's time to shine, is Pandarax, because without the Rock, even if they had shown up with their fleet, they would not have succeeded, because the Rock was pivotal, and it delivered the might of the full Dark Angels chapter all at once, crushing chaos numerically, securing Pandarax for the Imperium. It is the Rock's big moment. Hey, we've got some super chats.
Yes, we do. I will grab them. Boop.
5'78" Siggy 74. I love your super chats, dude. They're always funny. So they diggy into a big rock, like maybe a hole. Also, how many pools do they have? How deep are those pools? Do the lurkers have gills? You mean the Watchers in the Dark, I think, but yes. The lurkers in the pools are the little known subfaction of the Watchers in the Dark.
That's not a thing.
No, we're joking, but that's funny. I love it. Biofoot is our local fishman enthusiast, so I love it when he brings this stuff up. Elemental Exposure says, new canon, the Lion dropped the people's elbow on that jabroni Angron.
He kind of did, though.
Do we know if we have Warhammer Fantasy Battle Lorebeards tomorrow? We should. No, Andy's back from vacation, so we should. I mean, I can't predict the future, but I believe they are planning to have a show tomorrow, I think. So that's the best I can tell you. I'm sorry. I'm not Andy or Ryan, but I believe they are planning to do it.
Now, what if I told you, Ross, with that immense Guller field around it that prevents all demons from entering it, that demons entered the Rock?
I mean, the Gellerfields are typically only active during warp travel, so I mean,
Well,
there is. I know there's a special item, and we're going to get to that
Yeah.
when we talk about the Arcs of Omen.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that.
But just so you know, demons do show up on the rock.
Actually, do we want to talk about that now?
Is that the next event? I feel like that's not
It
the
is.
next event.
No, Arcs of Omen is the third big thing involving the rock.
Well, there is one more thing involving the rock, but it's from the comic book series Will of Iron, where a bunch of Dark Angels, Grey Knights, who would have guessed, an Inquisitor figures out the Dark Angel secrets because she has a fallen with her. The Dark Angels go out to try to kill her. Long story short, she gets blammed in the head at the end of the comic. Turns out she didn't actually die. It was a Tzeentch trick, which is a really cool way of keeping an Inquisitor alive. I'm all in favor of that. The Dark Angels blame everything on the Inquisitor. The Grey Knights just go, nah, okay, sounds legit. We don't want to fuck with the Dark Angels. They go back to the rock. It appears, and it's gigantic. And apparently the rock can't come too close to planets because it causes tidal waves. Turns out it is the size of a moon. Imperial attack moons, much cooler than Orc attack moons. Superior Imperial technology.
Speaking of technology, the rock holds a very unique item that they acquired at the very beginning of the heresy and have and carried with them for over 10,000 years until the Arcs of Omen incident.
Yep.
And that device is called the Tucholcha.
Those are words.
It is definitely a word.
So that's the Guller field, right?
Sort of. The Tucholcha is basically, and keep in mind, we are describing something that only shows up in the novels. Okay. So different writers and novels being tertiary canon, and a lot of what I'm going to say is going to sound really weird. Okay. Arcs of Omen is the one place where really here's what it is. And thanks to that, we have a pretty good understanding of it. It did appear in the Arcs of Omen. It's not just the novels, but novels and Arcs of Omen books, campaign books. The Tucholcha is basically this ancient sentient warp engine. It's a demon-like warp entity of pre-imperial origin, and it seems to be capable of precise warp navigation without a navigator, time manipulation, and summoning apocalyptic phenomena.
Now, you would think that time manipulation would be pivotal for this thing appearing at the Battle for Cadia or something like that. No, it never comes up.
It's a thing it has that doesn't seem to happen. That doesn't seem to really do much. It's tied deeply to the Dark Angels lore via Lionel Johnson and The Rock. The enigmatic origins of this thing are. It's said to have been at the dawn of the galaxy. It's said to have had a role in entities predating the Chaos Gods, and it apparently has the ability to alter timelines. It's very strange.
Could you imagine if they used it?
Right? It manifests as this vast, perfect sphere housing a warp entity, often described as a bloated demonic form with fanged maws and countless eyes encircling a coiled worm, like an Ouroboros.
So, remember all of that stuff about Malice?
Is it?
Yeah, it's not that.
Do you think the fifth, the so-called forgotten Chaos God?
Yeah, I think it might be that.
So Malice is sometimes considered the lost Chaos God because he appeared in a comic book way back in the 80s, and the author kept the rights to it. So Games Workshop basically disowned it and never talks about it.
Well, no, that was the name Malal. Now it's Malice.
Yeah, Malal. Sorry, the original one was Malal. Yeah, sorry.
And then
Malice refers to Malal, though.
Yeah, and then GW blew up Malice because that's what they did.
Let's see. It is 1/3 of a trinity. The Tucholcha is a part of a trinity of constructs. The others are called the Plague Heart and the Consumer. Originally, they were all one thing, but they were split apart. And together, they form something called a dissonance engine that rips open rifts, bridging space and time and the webway, and potentially rewriting history. It's like a weird, demonic version of a TARDIS.
This also sounds like a Necron weapon.
I mean, It doesn't, because it uses the warp. It can't be a Necron weapon.
Oh, that is true. Oh my god, we did it. We found the Jakaro weapon.
We found something.
So yeah, we have no idea who built this, how it was built, why it was built. We do know one thing. Vashtor the Archifane wants it.
Right. So Imperial records label this thing as demonic, as a servant of the deadly seas, whatever that means. Psi-arcane horror. The Tucholsha claims that it exists in the past, present, and future. It says it's immune to destruction because if it erased itself, then all kinds of historical things would go away.
Yeah, it is the TARDIS. It's a demon TARDIS.
Possibly related to the Webway, possibly the War in Heaven, possibly the Chaos Gods. Tucholsha speaks cryptically of creators at the dawn of the galaxy, gods, who corralled the warp for tunnels. Basically the old ones.
It came back to it. It always comes back to the War in Heaven.
It almost always comes back to the War in Heaven. It calls itself the lens, the bridge, and the doorway. Those are the three parts, of it together as when it comes together. It claims to predate linear warp history. It was at one time worshipped as a god in the Perditus system before the Great Crusade, and so it claims to be refined chaos essence. It claims to be able to find secret paths hidden from the chaos powers. It called Caliban home and believed that salvation would be found there in the reunion of all three of its different parts.
So you know what we should do, Ross? We should listen to the evil space monster. Now, that has never gone wrong.
Would you please summarize who Vashtor is?
So Vashtor, funny enough, actually has a joke on his own model where he's wearing the same sunglasses as Vash the Stampede, and I always thought that was funny. But Vashtor,
love and peace.
Such a good anime.
But the original is excellent.
Yes, I didn't mind the remake, but anyway, Vashtor the Archifane is the wannabe fifth Chaos God in Warhammer 40k. If you go by old lore, there's like 8 Chaos Gods, but none of them have ever made it past an edition. And Malice pops up every now and then, but isn't really a thing. But Vashtor now might be the 5th Chaos God. Well, he's trying to be. He's brokering deals with a whole bunch of things. He owns the Soul Forge, which is the demon engine forge that feeds all of the Chaos Space Marines their weaponry and armor and demon engines, which is weird because Perturabo made a good chunk of those. So it kind of just goes against his lore, but whatever. It's 40k. These things happen. But Vashtor wants to gather a bunch of ingredients to create a giant weapon that could turn him into a god. Put him on the same level as the major chaos powers. This would cause a massive upset in the Great Game, which the Emperor's part of. Some of the demon Primarchs are a part of on occasion, but it's mostly the Chaos Gods versus the Emperor, and they're all fighting each other and the Emperor at the same time. That's Great Game. The Great Game isn't complicated. It's probably just chess. I'm bad at it, so I'd probably lose, but Vashtor teams up a lot with other warlords. He'll team up with people like Horan Blackheart, Abaddon. He's got actually a really good connection with Abaddon. He's teamed up with Perturabo. He's teamed up with that's pretty much it. He's teamed up with some minor warlords here and there, but he always uses them to his end. But Abaddon's one of the few that can actually trick him, which is pretty funny. Be'lakor hates him because Be'lakor remembered that he has lore in another universe. That means that he hates everything. Be'lakor in 40k, we do have to talk about this really, really quickly, and I'm going to summarize this as quick as possible. So all of that lore from fantasy and AOS about Be'lakor that's super cool, rich, and in-depth. Yeah, throw that out the window. Be'lakor in 40k is just a mortal dude who became one of the first demon princes. He's jealous of all of the demon princes. He's chosen by all the chaos gods. He doesn't really accomplish anything, and he died, and GW was trying to remove him, and then he became really popular. So GW brought him back. And then in Vashtor's own story, where Vashtor is supposed to be like the main villain, Be'lakor beats him. And it took everybody by surprise, including Be'lakor, who then just left. Be'lakor commands a massive army called the Shadow Legion in 40k. The Shadow Legion can show up anywhere there is a shadow. It has to be slightly demonic, and there has to be like warp infused shadowy stuff, demon magic. He can appear wherever the plot needs him to. Vashtor tried to collect a bunch of artifacts. He needed to go aboard the Rock to get these artifacts, and then somehow, and it is never mentioned how, Be'lakor is also on the Rock, and he just appears, and he's like, "Hey guys, I got a new model too, and it's way cooler looking than your model. Your model sucks." And then Be'lakor showed up. The Dark Angels were like completely surprised by all of this. Vashtor stole some technology, but didn't get everything that he needed. Be'lakor's Legion actually beat Vashtor and his allies, but Vashtor used Be'lakor as a distraction to get away. In other words, he lost. There's Kovu. I think that's a good summary. Vashtor is extremely vain. He believes that all of his technology is better than any other god's technologies. He's extremely jealous of the other Chaos gods. He's also jealous of the Void Dragon, but calls him something completely different. I just can't remember what the name is. And that's pretty much it.
Welcome to Lorebeards 40,000, where to talk about the Rock, we have to talk about Vashtor. To talk about Vashtor, we have to talk about the Arcs of Omen. And to talk about the Arcs of Omen, we have to talk about Vashtor. And to talk about Vashtor, we have to talk about Be'lakor. we have to
talk
go
about
down
Be'lakor. We have to talk about the Chaos Gods. To talk about the Chaos Gods means it goes back to the War in Heaven.
Yeah, everything's connected. It gets convoluted. But Vashtor, the Archifane, is a very powerful demon prince of Chaos Undivided, and he rules a place called the Forge of Souls.
Is he a demon prince?
He is a demon prince.
Because that would imply that he's mortal.
Was mortal.
Yeah.
So Vashtor, he rules a place called the Forge of Souls, which is a vast warp forge where he crafts weapons, binds demons, and he does these soul debt contracts where basically he offers his services to innovate the arsenal of Chaos warbands. He can ally strategically with them to ascend his own plans and their plots. He also takes demon packs and technology and melds them together a lot. We're not sure where he came from. Like he seems to have some kind of connection possibly to the Dark Age of technology. Vashtor is generally kind of honest. Like he seems to keep his word.
His whole thing.
He seems to keep his word, which makes him invaluable in a lot of ways to Chaos warbands. And also makes him very different from Be'lakor. And if you look at his model, he is basically like the ultimate Chaos engineer. He's got mechanical wings, claws, a hammer, and a tail. He's a techno demon, if you want to look at it that way.
I do love that he's a cyber demon.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty rad. Okay, so that catches us up a little bit. Vashtor referred to the Chulcha as a lock or a key. Sorry, he called it a key to a lock, and it would unlock super weapons that would with enormous power from the War in Heaven, or maybe before the War in Heaven. It comes back to the War in Heaven, Alexis.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah,
but one quick thing that we need to mention about Vashtor. So he's not a demon prince. He is a full-fledged demon, and he's known as the Demon King.
Okay.
He can also manifest, which is bizarre for a demon. But I couldn't find anything that stated that he was a demon prince.
Okay, well, he's a greater demon of Chaos Undivided then. Okay.
Yes.
All right, my bad. Apologies.
He's the ruler of the Forge of Souls. He's known as the Demon King. He has the Cult of the Archifane. That's his warband. Mm-hmm. Which the Cult of the Archifane includes everything that Be'lakor has, which, Knights, Titans, Cultists, Chaos Space Marines. Gary from accounting.
Gary, what are you doing? So all of this is to build up to just give you an idea of what we think the Tucholcha may be, or what it might be. So how did the Dark Angels get their hands on this thing? So during the Crusade, the Dark Angels crushed a Perditus cult, and they seized the Tucholcha from Typhus of the Death Guard, who would later become Typhon, who we actually talked about very early in this episode. Mm-hmm. And Tucholcha thought that the sentient warp engine that it is, it believed that the lion was its savior. And so it helped the lion by transporting the Dark Angels through the Ruin Storm, which was a warp storm created by the Warbeards to isolate Ultramar. I'm sorry, there's a lot of names being thrown around here. The Warbeards are a chaos-aligned legion. The Ultramar is a region of space, the 500 worlds, that is ruled by the Ultramarines, which is another of the legions.
The Rune Storm is all demons united as under one banner. Sometimes
the storm itself,
really powerful.
The Ruin Storm itself is just a big ass warp storm.
Yeah, and then there's the Rune Storm demons that were very much undivided.
It did spawn demons out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Tucholcha helped the Dark Angels pierce through this Rune Storm, which was isolating Ultramar, delivered the Dark Angels to the region, which helped to fight against the Word Bearers and the World Eaters. It showed visions of chaos victory to the lion, but then it also showed the lion Pandarax, which we talked about later on, which was a thing that they did eventually go to with the rock. There's a whole thing that the lion did with Ultramar at that time was called the Imperium Secundus. We'll skip past that. It's not relevant.
They became the Super Friends. They broke up the Super Friends.
It's a big, massive part of the Horus Heresy, but it's not really relevant. So we're gonna skip ahead. Oh, super chat, Biofoot 7874. Oh God, I love this guy. Gary from accounting can do way better than working for Bellicor. Gary is a top flight dude. He shouldn't need to settle for working with Bellicor. Oh, I imagine Bellicor is a lot like that guy from Office Space. Yeah, Gary, I'm gonna need you to come in on Sunday.
Oh, he would be.
Lumberg. It's very much like Lumberg.
And if you've seen the account on TikTok, there's one guy who's like walks up to you and he's like, headphones out, and it's like, oh, I hate you. That's Vashtor.
Oh no, that's Bellicor.
No. The one from The Office. The Office Space
Oh,
movie.
Dwight?
Yeah.
No, Lumberg. Okay.
Yeah, Lumberg is Bellicor. The other one is Vashtor. I wouldn't want to work for either of them.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so that was basically its role during the Horus Heresy. After the Heresy, it was hidden in the rock and nobody really knew about it because the lion was unconscious, and I think he was maybe the only one who could really tell everybody what it had been. Because again, after the battle that destroyed Caliban, there was a lot of mass casualties on both sides. So many of the Dark Angels that were with Lion and knew what the Tucholcha was, they were killed. They were dead. So it was hidden in the rock and unknown to almost everybody. I assume that Supreme Grand Master Azrael knew about it. Maybe some of the inner circle. But Cypher, which is a character of the Dark Angels who has a super mysterious background, he fights with two pistols. People think he may be aligned with Chaos, or he might be aligned with the Imperium secretly. Nobody really knows. But Cypher, one of the most mysterious beings in all of 40K, shows up on the rock, reveals it to everybody, and helps it reunite with its siblings to kind of try and fix the fallen situation. Typhus and a guy called Astalin.
That's an unfortunate name.
I mean, that's got to be a Dark Angel, right? Like Astalin. That
does sound like a Dark Angel name, but it also sounds like somebody's trying to call him a certain insult.
Let me just he was a chapter master of the Legion during the Great Crusade. So he became a fallen angel.
Okay.
He's one of the most infamous ones, and he was captured, revealed a lot about their history, and then escaped after the interrogation. He's basically the Erebus of the Dark Angels. Okay, he's like one of the super bad guys. He's not Luther, but he's like right under Luther. Anyway, so Astalin and Typhus, they tried to get it too, and this created a warp rift over the ruins of Caliban, and Azrael managed to get it closed. Vashtor stole the Tucholcha, reforged it with all of its parts into the Dissonance engine, and tried to link the ruins of Caliban, which is called Wormwood. I'm sorry, this is an awful lot of lore, and I do apologize, but the Arks of Omen is a massive. There's a lot of stuff that happens.
The one thing about the Arks of Omen, though, is it throws so much at you in a tiny paragraph.
It really does.
It's like, here's 500 things, and you need to know every single one of them to understand the story.
Yeah. It gets weird. So anyway, so they tried to link the ruins of Caliban to the webway using it. And then what happens? Okay, so this was part of Abaddon's quest to break up the galaxy and split it in half. The Tucholcha kind of, we don't really know what happened to it after that.
Nope, because the book just suddenly ended.
Right. So it's a very unknown, it's an extremely deep mystery that has extremely shallow amounts of lore. It's essentially a TARDIS and is also a demon. It's if you destroy it, it can unravel or reboot the entire universe. It's very, very strange. And it was on the rock for a very, very long time. And that's what we needed to tell you, because it's relevant to the rock. God, I feel like I'm out of breath, like I've been running a race.
Well, there's so much that's important around the rock to talk about the rock itself. Oh, like we haven't even talked about the munitions or weaponry of the rock yet.
No, and I mentioned Wormwood. Wormwood is a demon planetoid forged by Vashtor the Archithane out of the shattered remnants of Caliban, and it was basically his base and a twisted echo of the Dark Angels' Lost Home world. This was created as part of the Arks of Omen. It was a weird demon version of Caliban, and that's really all I needed. I think that covers it.
Yes.
Oh my God. So now, Alexis, take over. I need a break.
So, I could talk about the weaponry, what's stored on the rock itself, or what do you suggest?
Okay. The weaponry, I mean, the stuff on it is pretty great, honestly. The most striking feature, of course, is the Tower of Angels, which is on top of it. Mm-hmm. And it's preserved and it's treated with awe by the Space Marines of the Dark Angels. They famously did not simply rebuild it. They just kind of left it undisturbed and silent.
Yeah, because they're still kind of scared of it.
They symbolically sealed it, because the chapter kind of refuses to overwrite the site of their greatest trauma. The Dark Angels post-heresy are almost entirely defined by the trauma and shame and guilt that their chapter fought itself during the heresy.
Yep, which is really weird because, another chapter that had almost half its number fall to chaos is the White Scars, and they don't give a shit.
No, they got over it real quick.
That's fine.
They got over it real quick.
And some of the Ultramarines fell, and even the Ultramarines were like, we killed them.
So the rock is a lot like the Dark Angels themselves. If you look at it from the outside, it looks, hey, that's a loyal, disciplined, first founding chapter of immense prestige. But on the inside, the Dark Angels are a hierarchy of hidden secrets. And the rock on the inside is a labyrinth of hidden compartments. It's circles of knowledge buried beneath another circle of knowledge, buried beneath secrets, buried beneath.
Do you know what the rock reminds me of? The Emperor's Palace.
I mean, they have a lot in common.
Tons and tons of secret levels, secret technology hidden away from the rest of the galaxy because it's too dangerous to let out. If 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 the Arcaphane decided to actually go down into the rock itself and take some of the other technologies that he knows is there, because you can't hide it from him. He knows technology inherently. He knows where it is. He knows how to get to it, but he chose not to because he needed to get what he actually came for. But if he went on like a little shopping trip through the rock, he could take some devastating weaponry. Because the Dark Angels in the rock itself, I'm going to pivot this over to talking about the weaponry and all the technology that the Dark Angels have within the rock itself. So the Dark Angels have technology that a lot of other chapters don't have. They have the Nephilim jet fighter. The Nephilims first appeared whenever GW said they did. There's two sources for it, both contradict each other. One says in the Heresy, the other one says in later on. But the Nephilim jet fighter is a specially designed ground assault aircraft that has a Burt gun, which makes it the greatest aircraft in the galaxy. Second only to the Avenger Strike Fighter, which also has a Burt gun. I'm a big fan of the A10 Warthog, and anytime I hear about A10 Warthogs in 40k, I love them. The Nephilim has the A10 gun, and so does the Avenger Strike Fighter. They have very similar guns. But anyway, the Nephilim jet fighters are something that the Dark Angels found or built on the dark within the rock itself. This is technology that only they have. The Emperor entrusted them with certain secret technologies, including that the Landspeeder Storm. No, not the Landspeeder Storm. The Landspeeder. Oh my god, I forgot the name of it. Hang on, I know the name. I'm just gonna look it up really quickly because it's bugging me now because I did forget. My apologies for this. We'll just grab a Dark Angel list really fast. And it is because I can't remember the name of it. The Landspeeder Vengeance, the Nephilim Jet Fighter, the Ravenwing Dark Talon, and the Dark Shroud. So Dark Angels are famous for their use of plasma technology. In fact, they use plasma almost the best out of all legions. They would argue the best. Word bearers might argue something different because they have that weird plasma gun, but it's really the Dark Angels that mastered plasma. The plasma weaponry that the Dark Angels have is very unique, as in it doesn't kill the user as often. The plasma burner was a plasma flamethrower that the Dark Angels used during the Horus Heresy.
They also had a thing called the plasma repeater, which was like
I'm going to get to that.
Submachine gun. It was very rapid fire. It was a rapid fire, even more rapid fire than a standard plasma gun rapid fire.
Now, the Dark Angels eventually took that exact gun and mounted it on a motorcycle. That's right, we're talking about the Ravenwing Black Knights, which mounted two plasma repeaters next to each other, which they now call the Plasma Talon, because, of course, you put two guns next to each other, it's not two of that gun, it's now a totally different gun, according to 40k. They put two of these things on a bike that they shoot into as crowd control. And these things shoot, it's a plasma weapon. It's shooting a miniature sun at you that's going to cook you alive. Weirdly enough, the plasma weapons in 40k shoot very slow, but this one shoots incredibly fast. So it's very hard to dodge, and on a motorcycle that's already moving very fast. Yeah. The Dark Angels also have the most motorcycles out of any and all chapters. Ravenwing is massive, and I will say it right now, it is more than the White Scars. The White Scars are still a Codex compliant chapter, which means they don't have as many. They use them a lot, but they don't have as many. The Dark Angels also, for the longest time, were the only chapter to have an Archaeotech-styled jet bike, which is what the newer lore is saying about Samuel's bike, because the older lore said that it was the only jet bike in the galaxy. And then we looked at Necromunda, and the Eschers have jet bikes, and then there's Sukaro Khan or something that has a jet bike, which is a newer jet bike. So his style of jet bike is very unique. It is made in the same style as the 30k jet bikes, but even by their standards in 30k, this thing would be a work of art. This would be an artificer jet bike. That jet bike is equipped with a plasma cannon as the underslung gun, and also has two bolters on the side of it. It's a very powerful jet bike. Aside from that, we have things like the Plasma Destroyer, which is found on the Ravenwing Vengeance, the Landspeeder Vengeance, which is part of the Ravenwing. This weapon is essentially an anti-tank plasma cannon, like two plasma executioners from the Lehman Russ executioner, just mounted on top of it, and it swivels and fires through the darkness of the Ravenwing Dark Shroud. The Dark Shroud itself creating a field that makes it so that it appears the darkness itself is shooting you. This field is made out of a technology that only the Dark Angels have. They don't truly understand it, but only they have it. And what it does is it makes it so the Dark Angels can see you. You can't see them. It's a scramble field, and they shoot super hot plasma at you. There are multiple types of swords that the Dark Angels specialize in. They specialize in Bastard, Long, and Zweihanders on occasion. I think only one of their characters has a Zweihander.
Tyrannic Great Blades were all two-handed weapons.
Yes, the Tyrannic Great Blade was the two-handed large sword that they used as well.
In the Heresy.
Yes, they
30K.
still have one or two of them around, but they're seen as extremely rare relics. And instead, in 40K, they have a weapon that is similar to it, that is a relic weapon. The Tyrannic Great Blade acts kind of like a force weapon in the way that it cuts through armor with ease, and then its weight pushes right through the blade itself, similar to that of a regular power weapon. But its weight and the user behind it makes it, and its power field being a lot stronger, makes it so that it can even cut through Terminator plate with ease. Yeah. Hang on. I'm just going to tell Victor to shit up.
Well, Alexis, all the things you said are very true and excellent. But I want to point out that all of the things that you listed are the weapons that they openly wield.
Yeah, I was going to get to the secret weapons.
In the Rock, they have vaults full of even more esoteric and strange gear. Now, remember, back in 30K, and during the Heresy and the Great Crusade era, they had an entire sub-faction called the Dreadwing. And the Dreadwing's role was to destroy worlds. They were the final sanction. They were the ones you released to just absolutely positively get rid of everybody on this planet, and nothing would ever live there ever again.
In fact, there is a Gilliman tried to get rid of all the destroyers in the Legion, and the one opposed was Lion, who flat out said no.
Well, the Lion knew that he needed those guys for various reasons. Yep. Before we jump into all the weird stuff in the vault, though, we do have a super chat from Ricky Chapman. Hey, Ricky Chapman, he's our local RPG enthusiast, and his is always really good. Vashtor, says, probably was worried about the Watchers in the dark and came to the response that risking the plan to steal some bonus tech is not a good plan.
More than likely, though, Vashtor being as powerful as he is, although, okay, so you can't power scale Warhammer 40K. It does not work. Well, power scaling in general doesn't work.
Bold statement.
No, correct statement. Writers don't write characters with the intent of them being power scaled. But I will state this. If the Watchers make the Changelings scared, Vashtor probably was worried about them. It doesn't hurt that, Be'lakor appeared too. And Be'lakor's like, hey, I'm part of this story.
So Alexis, you're great. I respect you greatly. But I want to say I feel like in my head, the White Scars have slightly more bikes than the Ravenwing. Just saying.
How many successors do the White Scars have?
Well, the problem is that they get sidelined at Games Workshop so often.
Well, that sounds like a whole lot of less bikes.
You know what? I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to say I feel like that they might have more bikes. That's all. I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. Like, this is just friendly banter.
It's absolutely friendly banter.
Like, if the White Scars were loved as much as the other chapters, yeah, they would probably have way more bikes.
Eternal Crusader, that's fight and talk. Oh no,
dwarf short-sighted.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the items that let's talk about some items that Dark Angels have on board the Rock that they do not bring out because if they did, go ahead.
So we're going to talk about virus bombs that they keep.
Oh, we're going to talk. I have a list.
Oh, okay, good.
I have a list. They have a stash of weapons that are so potent and so heretical that even the Mechanicus would condemn them. Other Space Marine chapters would condemn them for having this stuff.
Before we get into this, I do need to point out one thing that's very important about the Rock and the Dark Angels. Tech Marines are never part of the Inner Circle. They are not allowed to be. There is a Master Tech Marine that is built in. Essentially, he hooks himself into the Rock itself, but even he is not allowed to know about all the secrets. And because he shares allegiance with the Martians, the Dark Angels don't truly trust their tech priests. In fact, the Dark Angels have the most servitors out of almost every chapter, because if you fail to become a Dark Angel, you're lobotomized. That's it. You either get to be a scout, or you're lobotomized, or you're a serf who never gets to attempt to be a Dark Angel.
The key here is the Dark Angels take their secrets very, very seriously. The person you're talking about is Bellafor, the Master of the Rock, the equivalent of the Master of the Forge in other chapters. He is cybernetically hardwired into the Rock systems and oversees its machine spirits, its warp drives, the void shields, all the maintenance. And she's right. The Dark Angels distrust Tech Marines due to their ties to the Mechanicus, and that means there are no Tech Marines in the Inner Circle, and because the Inner Circle, all members of the Deathwing are Inner Circle, there's no Tech Marines in the Deathwing.
Mm-hmm.
The role of Master of the Rock may be the only exception, because he's permanently wired in, so his loyalty is kind of ensured because he's fused with the fortress. But even he doesn't know about the Fallen lore. Okay, he knows a lot about the Rock, but he doesn't know everything about the Rock, and he definitely doesn't know everything about the history. He's an immortal custodian, if you will, and an embodiment of the paranoia of the Dark Angels.
Custodian with a lowercase c.
Right, not a custodes, but a custodian. This is weird. 40K, you have to preface certain words with like it's a lowercase c chaos, lowercase c custodian.
Yeah, like the planet went to chaos. It's like, well, hold on. Did you capitalize C? Because that means that it's a demon world now.
Right.
Or is it a lowercase c, which means it's just in turmoil?
So getting back to the vault full of crazy tech. They have a lot of what's called phosphex. Phosphex weapons. These were used liberally during the Great Crusade, but they're essentially unquenchable acidic napalm, and it causes horrific burns. It was banned by imperial decree after the heresy.
It was banned by Reboot Gilliman.
And the Dreadwing had massive reserves of it. They also have these weird kind of like nanite swarms that can disassemble targets atom by atom.
Mm-hmm.
They are considered uncontrollable and are locked away. It's some sort of Dark Age of technology abomination. They have the Exindio, which we talked about before, which are the battle automata. It's an AI from the Men of Iron era in a killer robot, and it might be a Man of Iron, but it might actually be,
yeah. These things are so uncontrollable that the way the Dark Angels deploy them is via drop pod onto the opponent with bomb collars on them to kill them.
They had a self-destruct switch that it's literally in the rules. Like if you field an Exindio, you can actually self-destruct it if it goes crazy, because it might go crazy.
And it'll attack anything near it, including your own stuff. I've played them a few times where they dropped on the battlefield and then killed their drop pod.
They have a lot of stasis grenades, which stasis fields are not uncommon in 40K, but they are rare, I guess. I need to, flip that around. They're not rare, but they are uncommon. But the Dark Angels have a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
They have the advanced plasma weapons that Alexis talked about. There's a lot of things that just have names, and we don't really know much about them, but they have warp cannons and vortex shells. They have man-portable atomics, singularity drivers, They have things called psionic phages and personality eradicators and neural whips and mind worms. They have.
Do you know what the Neuro Whip is?
We do, but I mean, I don't want to be anywhere near things like a neural whip. Like it just the name itself makes me go, oh my god, that sounds horrible.
So the vortex shell is actually something super interesting because that's something you load into a Nova cannon and you make your problem go away. It is the be all end all of Nova shots. It is the I don't want to see that fleet anymore shot.
Well, vortex weaponry operates by ripping open a hole between the material world and the immaterium. Basically, it creates a small warp portal, and the warp portal doesn't always close right away. Sometimes it hangs around and sort of, just creates problems for everybody. But vortex weaponry is when you want to make everybody's day go to shit.
Mm-hmm. And the Dark Angels have plenty of it.
They have lots. All right, here's oh, go ahead.
The scary thing about the Dark Angels, though, is if they sense that your world is actually posing too big of a threat to them, they will shoot one of these at your planet. Typically, they'll do surface level bombardments, but if they really need to exterminatus the planet, like actually glass the entire world or destroy the planet itself, which weirdly enough, I know exterminatus is very, very common as a meme. It is typically not done to the point where the planet is completely destroyed.
No, exterminatus wipes out all life on the planet. It doesn't actually it's not a Death Star. It doesn't actually destroy the planet. It just wipes out all life on the planet.
Now, there is circumstances where they can destroy an entire world, and they have done it in the past. They just try to avoid that because that's a lot of lost resources. Like, that planet can be used again in a couple generations.
So the last thing about the vault, they have Dark Age technology stuff, Horus Heresy era stuff. They have Xenos artifacts, Calibanite relics. There's all kinds of anomalies. The Inquisition has probably a shopping list that they were like, man, if we could ever just get in there. All right, we got a super chat from Ricky Chapman coming in with a steel chair. Wow. He's going to talk about his role-playing game campaign. I love it. He says, we've seen The Rock in a campaign. It was awe-inspiring and terrifying as we had to talk to Asmodai. Asmodai is one of the named characters. He's the head of the interrogator chaplains. Well, one of our group had to talk to him. The rest of us were recovering from flayed ones, and of course it was our Xenos mercenary. Oh, I would not want to be there for that conversation.
No.
The Dark Angels are famously the least tolerance of Xenos and mutants. Black Templars are also not real happy about Black Templars is more about the Psyker stuff than anything else. But
it is weird that the Black Templar have a temporary alliance with Sam Han Eldar. That has always been like one of the weirdest, like how they have a conversation.
Yeah, I don't have no idea how that worked out.
Like, Ali talk would make sense because they would be like, hey, there's not much of us left. Don't kill us. But Sam Han, damn.
So Jake Wu says the Dark Angels Legion did a lot of that planet-destroying stuff towards the later stages of the Horus Heresy while the Siege of Terra happened. Yeah, they did the scouring. Part of the scouring occurred when Lionel Johnson and the Dark Angels decided to go destroy all the traitor homeworlds. And again, to be clear, some of these homeworlds they just scoured of all life.
Yeah, some of them they did destroy, though.
Yeah. But they cleansed Cathonia and several other places. Anyway.
Now, keep in mind, there are weapons in 40K that can destroy entire planets with one shot. There's a weapon in 40K that could destroy a sun that Chaos uses. A couple of Blackstone Fortresses can also do it.
Abaddon famously has a ship called the Planet Killer that does, guess what? Kills planets. It destroys the planet.
Yeah. And he found that in a pile of garbage, which makes me so happy. That will always... I want that lore to never be touched. I want that ship to always have been found in a pile of garbage.
So the vaults in the rock, This is why the Dark Angels can also often field unusual relic war gear. This is why they're portrayed as being materially wealthy, even by first founding standards. This is why the Dark Angels have just tons of plasma weapons when all the other chapters are like lucky to have, a few. The chapter's relationship with technology is not entirely transparent even to itself, because some of the systems they have are from very ancient eras of time. They're preserved through ritual as much as by comprehension. And the shielding and navigation systems that are tied into the fortress's survival, those are under control of the Master of the Rock. But the other, there's several areas, as we said before, several systems and technologies that the Master of the Rock, Bellefonte, he has no control over. So basically, and it's kind of it's really kind of a very grimdark that Bellefonte, it's body horror, right? Like he's literally plugged into the Rock and sacrificed his life to be this guy, to do his job. That's very.
And it's also implied that the guy before him was just a husk. So the Rock itself is feeding on them.
Yeah. So or used him up or something. Yeah, we're not sure.
Yeah, because he was almost skeletal when he was replaced. Which is sick. I love that.
The Rock has a reputation for being nearly impregnable. But it's only nearly impregnable because the lore has violated it several times.
It has been impregnated multiple times, apparently.
So one of the things that happened when Vashtor led the demon assaults on the Rock is that Luther escaped.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's not good. And this was after the Great Rift happened. This is part of that whole part of the whole formation of the Cicatrix Maledictum and the Imperium Nihilus and all that other stuff. Because the Rock was in the area space, I think it was in the area space where the Imperium Nihilus is. It's on the other side. It is. And so this transformed the Dark Angels' foundational secret into a active crisis, which is cool because the storyline, in terms of like narrative and story development, this is cool because Luther being on the Rock is a static thing. He's just there somewhere that, but him being out and active and doing things means that the Dark Angels have to be out and active hunting him down.
Ross, I'm going to explain all of the stuff that Luther's been up to since he's been out. All right, you ready?
And I'm done.
Okay.
And you're done.
Yep.
That's
now,
it.
I should talk about how Cypher and Lion's meeting went.
Sure.
It didn't. Unfortunately, Lion coming back, he hasn't done anything. Like, he fought Angron, but literally anyone can fight Angron at this point. He's the Avatar at this point. He's got Avatar syndrome. And by that, we mean, if you're older into the 40K setting, the Avatar of Cain was famously the thing that everyone killed to be like, oh, he's super powerful. Like, Fulgrim killed one. A Grey Knight killed one. Kolgar killed one. Kolgar killed the Swarmlord. Then Kolgar killed another Avatar. I'm not kidding. He's killed two. It's very weird. I had a penny for each time.
And a Swarmlord.
Yeah.
Calgar's racking up. He's got a really nice little kill list there, actually.
Yeah, he does. Including one of his newer models in Gravis armor. Killed that too.
Oh.
But jokes aside, we do know one thing about the Rock that includes Lion, and that is that Lion can get in and out of the Rock without the Dark Angels knowing, including Azrael. Azrael doesn't know how the Lion gets in and out of the Rock without, like, alarms blaring or everything. But he also brings the Redeemed with him.
Who are the Redeemed?
So to explain what the Redeemed are, so you know all of those super bad guys that we were just talking about, right? The Fallen. Well, Lion went out to them and just went, "Hey, kneel," and they were like, "Ha ha ha! We're fully corrupted by chaos." Oh shit, Dad's here. All right, well, I'm chaos. Can I at least die?
It's a lot more complicated than that.
The ones that weren't like fully corrupted by chaos, the ones that like went out on their own or tried to continue fighting in the Dark Angel's name, but were part of the Fallen, were redeemed or the Risen. Sorry, they're called the Risen. They're not the Redeemed. The Redeemed are the ones that are murdered. The Risen are the one that Lion brings back with him that are potentially the Fallen.
Thank you, Lord Vorn.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Vorn. There's a lot of different names that are all like super close to each other with the Dark Angels. But the Risen are potentially, and some are, the Fallen that are now serving as personal bodyguards of really, really important characters within the Dark Angels. Like Azrael has a group of them that kind of follow him around, which is super awkward because he's like, hey, wasn't I hunting you? Yeah, you almost caught me. It's great.
Well, this is the Fallen is actually a big deal. We could talk about a whole episode on these guys, but the short version is that when the Lion returned. By the way, we're going to need to talk about Luther's cell here in the Rock in a minute, but Luther, when he was in the cell, was raving about the Lion returning at some point in the future, and the Lion did in fact return. And when he did return, he appeared on a world where one of the Fallen was defending people from monsters. So it was very like Caliban. And this fallen angel was very bitter about the whole situation that happened on Caliban. And the Lion was like, okay, I don't know who you are, but you really don't seem to like me. And the fallen angel's like, you don't remember me? And he just starts to talk about like all the things that happened. And the Lion's like, oh, from your perspective, I sound like a real asshole. And the fallen angel's like, yeah. And I'm not even corrupted by chaos. I'm just like hiding out because otherwise, the other Dark Angels would freaking kill me and torture me. So the Lion basically was like, hey, that doesn't sound very good. And I feel really guilty about my role in all of this because it really, a lot of it does fall on the Lion's shoulders. Luther made bad decisions. That's fair. But the Lion was just a terrible, terrible father to his chapter. Kind of like the Emperor. Anyway, so the Lion and that guy, I can't remember his name, but it's in the book, The Sons of the Forests, which is a very good book.
It is a very good book.
And the Lion, because of that guy, the Lion was like, okay, so I'm going to try and be better. I'm going to try and fix this. And that's why he's going around and gathering the Fallen who are willing to gather to him. He's gathering them, and he calls them the Risen. There is almost certainly going to be some kind of massive confrontation between the Lion and Azrael, and they're going to have it out about whether the Dark Angels are still hunting the Fallen or not, and how that's going to work. But that has yet to occur.
Oh, sorry. I just really hope we don't get a Marinus Colgar Gilliman moment where it's like Marinus feels like a failure, because I don't think Azrael is a failure. Like, I also don't think Colgar is a failure, but I understand his feelings of feeling inferior to his Primarch. But like, Lion is like, he's just not there.
I want to know more about Luther because Luther, and he had a cell in the Rock, and he was kept in that cell for a very, very long time. The arch betrayer of Caliban is Luther, and he was held in the deepest, most secure cavern of the Rock. He was protected by the most extreme physical and psychic defenses. His existence was only known to the Supreme Grand Master and the Watchers in the Dark. Even the Inner Circle didn't know Luther was there. Only Azrael did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and previous Supreme Grand Masters.
And the Watchers in the Dark.
And the Watchers in the Dark. But that secrecy mattered because Luther's survival meant that the chapter's shame was not merely historical, it was ongoing. Luther kept that alive, basically. His imprisonment is one of the most grimmest and most revealing details in all of Dark Angel's lore, because he was not simply locked away. He was sustained over 10 millennia. He was treated like an oracle, repeatedly confronted by the Supreme Grand Masters over time, and bullied basically for repentance, confession, some useful fragment of the truth. This poor guy was kept in essentially Abu Ghraib for 10,000 years and waterboarded like every day. Like it was awful. And it created kind of a weird spiritual feedback loop in which the chapter's leaders inherited not just their authority, but a private relationship with the living origin of their chapter's trauma.
That had to feel so weird.
Right?
That is like you're literally seeing your dad's like ex-boyfriend and you're talking to him.
The cell I mean, so the sellers of the rock kind of feel like an Arthurian underworld,
Mhm.
and which is fitting because the lore of the Dark Angels draws so heavily on knightly things, penitence, repentance, guilt, shame.
You would think that they would have a Repentia unit,
You'd think so. You would think
but
so.
is what it is.
So why don't we pause for a moment, though? Because we've talked about the Rock, we've talked about Luther, we've talked about all the things the Rock was involved in, we talked about all the things that are on board the Rock, we talked about the Watchers, we talked about Lion, we talked about the Dark Ages chapter. But
You're right.
there's something missing here.
Yeah, paper and scissors.
No, this is something you brought up before the show, and I wanted to make sure to give you your chance to shine. So please talk about the missed opportunity. First of all, talk about the Native American origins of the Dark Angels and the missed opportunity that you pointed out.
So, okay, to explain, it's a bit weird. All right.
After all we've talked about today, this is weird.
This is the weird part.
Really?
All
Compared to the Tucholcha? The Tucholcha is freaking weird as hell.
That is weird as hell, but that somehow like fits into 40K. This fits really well into 40K, and they just went boop and they missed. So the Dark Angels still have some Native American stuff with them. The totems, the banners with the feathers on them are very much Native American. There are other cultures that have used the similar totems and things like that. But the Dark Angels they actually have like the raven totems, the winged helmets, which are very reminiscent of Native American war chief helmets. Or
headdresses.
hats. Yeah, headdress. That's thank you. But for a little bit, and I mean a little bit in third edition, I think it was either second or third edition. Second edition. Okay, thank you. In second edition, they pushed the Dark Angels away from being the Knights Crusader into the Gaelic Knights. And I thought that was really cool. It would be a very cool way of showing a difference of knights. Because if you guys don't know, there's a shit ton of different knights that existed throughout all of history. There's a lot of lore on knights, but everyone seems to want to do the Knights Hospitaller and the Knights Templar because those are the most popular. But there are other really cool knights, and my favorite, personal favorite, is the Gaelic Knights, especially those of Ireland. So I want to talk about Irish culture really quickly. During the famines and everything like that, and during the Trail of Tears, Irish people sent money over to the Native American people, and the Native American people sent money over to the Irish people during both crises. And while it wasn't a lot of money, it was what both cultures could do while they were both starving. And as a token of like a gesture of goodwill, they both have statues in their selective regions of each other's stuff. Like there is a Gaelic statue in I forget what state it's in. My apologies. And then there's a Native American statue in Ireland, and this is really, really, really cool. And it ties to the Native American like aspect of the Deathwing. So the Deathwing would do this ash covering of their body because they were about to die, and they had the Native American headdresses, and they had a lot of like Native American stuff, iconography, if for lack of better words. And the Deathwing was all about this during this one story, specifically one story. And the Deathwing then adopted it afterwards and had all of the colors of like the Native Americans, which is like the light green, which they now use as their chest plate, the whites, the totems, and all of this other stuff. And they went into battle with the knowing full well that they were all going to die. The Deathwing honored that and kept it in as a token of like their sacrifice. And this was very much inspired by Native American folklore. And then GW just went, nah, we accidentally made that offensive. Oopsie daisy. When they could have just respected the culture, shown it for what it properly is, and just been like, here's Native American representation, which no sci-fi game really has. None of them really have Native American like history or anything really present in them. And it's a shame, and it's a huge missed opportunity. And they kept some of the totems, like the Raven Wing stuff. Oklahoma, thank you. You're the best. but like I wanted to just share that. I really, really, really like the Native American aspect of the Dark Angels, and I feel like GW should bring some of that back, but
Well,
in a more respectable manner.
honestly, I kind of think that the fusion of Native American culture and Arthurian legend could
Yeah.
be could be really interesting and cool if it's handled well.
Yes.
The I So just to clarify, the 1980s, the Rogue Trader First Edition, the Dark Angels, they recruited from Plains Worlds, and they had feathers and tribal markings. They had headdresses. They had there was a short story called Deathwing, which was
Yep.
really
That's the one I
really
was
leaned
mentioning.
into it. So this was somewhere between 88 and 98 was
Mhm.
this whole period. They had a Thunderhawk called the Cloud Runner, for example. This was phased out around 98 when third edition came along. It was then retconned to be Arthurian Knights and most monastic orders, and the feathers were rethemed as angelic rather than
Yeah.
Native American. The Plains World stuff was minimized, and they instead focused on Terra and Caliban. Um, there are some remnants that linger, like the feathers on the Ravenwing or the Deathwing, but that's
And the
it's it's
helmets.
it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
It has been gone for 27, 28 years at this
It
point.
could come back. It's so cool. It is such like give me a Space Marine chapter that is Native Americans. Like they had another chapter, they had the Rainbow Warriors, and then they got rid of them too.
Sideline them. They're minimized.
Yeah.
They
Like
still exist, but yeah.
they do come up every now and then. They are mentioned. Usually as a joke, but they are mentioned. But
I
it
mean,
annoys me that they're so close to making like Native Americans in a sci-fi setting that I want. I think Cyberpunk has a couple of gangs that are Native Americans, and those are really cool.
Shadowrun
But
does.
yeah, Shadowrun does as well.
No, I think it's just Shadowrun.
No, Cyberpunk does in the books. It's not really
Okay,
in any of the games or anything else. It's
all
just in
right.
the books, along with the werewolves. Cyberpunk has werewolves,
The Cyberpunk does have werewolves. That is the thing. I
which
do
is
remember
weird.
that. Yeah, that's it is a weird and fun thing.
Also,
Um,
techno necromancers, which is
yes. I,
really, really cool.
oh my god, I could talk Cyberpunk 2077 lore for a while,
We're not here for that, but I
we're
do
not here
think
for
that
that.
that's going to be a plot point in the second game to bring Johnny back.
Well, here's the thing. The Rock and the Dark Angels, they seem to be on the cusp of some pretty major story beats. When the Dark Angel showed up to help the Space Wolves, that was actually a really cool resolution in a way to the rivalry between them. So
Yep.
they've kind of resolved that issue, but there's still well, it was a step.
They
It was a
did,
step in
but
the right direction.
they killed so many space wolves though.
I know. The point is that was a way to say, hey, we remembered this cool thing from the lore. Let's bring it out, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like the Rock is also on the cusp of that because we have the Lion is back. Luther's out there somewhere, and Azrael and his guys are still hunting everybody. So it seems to me, I'm speculating, but it seems to me very, very likely that at some point in the future we're going to have the Lion and Azrael having it out on the Rock. More likely than anything else, they're probably going to go to the Rock. Maybe even to open up the Tower of Angels and talk about it in there. But I have a feeling like that is going to happen. I don't think Vashtor is going to come back to the Rock. I think Vashtor's done. I think he got what he wanted.
Vashtor's story right now is finished.
Well, he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say we will see Vashtor again, but I don't think Vashtor will go back to the Rock. But I think that the Fallen might, or Cypher certainly might, come back to the Rock. Cypher is the most well-known and prominent member of the Fallen.
I want Cypher to talk to Lion and have a duel with him in the forest. Those are a whole lot of words that a lot of people don't understand. The forest is an extra dimension that we don't know if it's the warp or something or a pocket dimension. It's never really clarified where it is, but the Lion can walk through it and apparently go through space-time.
It's not necessarily even under his control because it might just happen while he's walking. In Sons of the Forest, it happens while he's just walking from place A to place B, and he's like, "Wow, this is a whole other planet. How did we get here? I felt like we were on Caliban briefly, and now we're here."
Yeah,
And
it's
everybody's
gotta be
like,
super awkward.
"Oh, did you want to do that?" And he's like, "No, I just felt like I needed to be here, and that's why I'm here."
Oh no, he's moving like a living saint.
I mean, not
Uh-oh.
exactly. He's not getting killed and reincarnating.
Hey,
Actually,
that's a step up.
he's not resurrecting. Sorry, living saints resurrect. They do not reincarnate. They resurrect.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's possible the Rock could have a dramatic fall where all of its secrets are exposed and revealed. I don't think that's likely, but it's possible. The Lion could end up siding with the Fallen against the Orthodox Dark Angels.
As weird as it is, I don't like that. I have a reason for it, because my reason for it is we know that the Dawn of War 3 game, Dawn of War 4 game is happening. We don't fully know if that's canon or anything, but with all the recent games being canon or canonical, it stands to reason that this one's also going to be canonical. But we do know that the Lion, after or before those events, is trying to find Gilliman. And considering he could just appear anywhere, there is a good chance that he appears to talk to Gilliman. I want to see that story.
And it's entirely possible that the Lion's ability to walk through the forest could be related to the T'Chulcha and maybe that'll be a rematch between Vashtor and the Dark Angels. There's a lot of possibilities here. One other thing I did want to point out about the Rock, while I said that there's over 1,000 Space Marines on board, it's very likely that there are tens of thousands of people aboard because it is essentially a continent size or small moon sized spaceship. And that means you have to have a lot of guys to do stuff. You have to have serfs. Chapter serfs are usually the guys that don't make it through the training. Although, as she said, as Alexa said, they often lobotomize those guys. But the chapter serfs, there's probably entire families of serfs living aboard the Rock. Because I imagine you can't just replenish serfs. You need to have, repopulation. You need to have reproduction in order to do that. So I imagine there's probably like hidden societies and maybe even a city of serfs somewhere in the labyrinth beneath the surface of the Rock.
Okay, this is a 40K grim dark question for you. Do servitors count as people in 40K?
No, definitely not.
Right? They're just equipment.
Right.
That means there could be millions of them on this ship as well.
Well, I'm not counting. I'm only counting people. Servitors are not actually people.
Oh, that is so horrifying.
I know, right? Like, hey, welcome to 40K. It's grim and it's dark.
We know that mutants don't really count as people either. They count as mutants.
True. Although the Dark Angels have at one time in the lore, the Dark Angels had a particular dislike of mutants. And my headcanon is that they had a bunch of mutants on board the Rock somewhere, either mutated by Caliban or mutated by the warp engines or whatever. And they had to do a purge.
Dotherfield gave Larry two extra arms.
And they had to do a purge of their own Rock. They probably had to go down there, and it was probably unpleasant. And I imagine the Dark Angels afterwards were like, you know what? Screw mutants. Those guys are terrible. Oh, my gosh.
Damn it, four-armed Larry.
So Sean Connery broke out of the Rock using green goo, but that was a different Rock. Luther's Fallen are still trying to break out of the Rock after the big boom of Caliban. I find that funny. That is pretty much the Fortress of the Rock. I think we've covered all of it. The Prison of the Fallen, Luther's cell. Lionel Johnson was asleep there for God knows how long, which only the Watchers knew about that.
Yeah.
We talked about the Watchers and who they are. We talked about the secrets. We talked about the Archaeotech and the hidden vaults. We talked about the T'Chulcha.
Tons of defensive weapons on the Rock itself, including main battle weapons.
The T'Chulcha still breaks my brain a little bit. That thing is so weird.
I want to know what it is, because it's so weird because it's written like Necron technology, but demon.
It can't be Necron technology.
Yeah, but you get what I mean when I say it's written like Necron, where it's like almost Cthulhu-esque, but then it's demon.
Yeah, I mean, and it raises a whole bunch of questions about the War in Heaven. We did a whole episode on the War in Heaven. Go check that out. If you want to hear, You want to hear wild stories about 65 million years before the current date in Warhammer 40,000? That is where we discussed it.
One of the more random things that we do know is that the Emperor probably doesn't know everything on the rock.
The Emperor probably knows very little about the rock.
Yeah, but he knows that he can trust the lion with everything.
But the lion is one of his sons.
Yeah, but specifically, the Emperor only trusts the lion, not his legion, the lion.
Well, the lion is his most trustworthy son. I mean, he gave him
exactly.
He gave the lion and the First Legion. They got all the good stuff because the Emperor was like, "I trust you guys. You are the only ones I trust to deal with the worst aliens and the worst secrets and the worst, just the worst stuff in the galaxy. I'm going to send you to do it because I trust you to do it right, and I'm going to give you all these weird weapons to make it happen. And you can't tell anybody about what you see." And the lion was like, "You got it."
He trusted the Dark Angels to destroy the Thunder Warriors.
Right. Because they can keep a secret.
Yeah, that's huge. We keep mentioning the Thunder Warriors, and I'll explain them really, really quickly. Imagine Space Marines if they were on coke and weren't as well armored. That's pretty much them. They were like frothing berserkers, but they were also kind of useful, but the Emperor didn't really like them because they burned out really quickly. So they didn't have longevity. They didn't have like a good life because they were always in pain. They were just made to conquer Earth. And then Astarte led a rebellion using them against the Emperor because she was like, the Emperor's plan is going to kill us all, which pretty much turned out to be true, but whatever. And then she got killed by the Custodians and the Dark Angels. So Space Marine rednecks, yes.
Right. It's
sorry. Technically, not all of them died.
Well, yeah. We should do an episode on the Thunder Warriors because they're fascinating.
It'd be like 10 minutes.
No, there's plenty to talk about. But the thing about the rock is a symbol of the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels and the rock, it is their home, but it is also it is literally a mirror, right? And the guilt, the suppression, the obsession of the Dark Angels is reflected in the rock. You can see it when you go. I imagine when Ricky Chapman and had his gaming group go to the rock, they were probably like, "Wow, I feel very like there's a heavy weight of guilt like layered over everything in here." So yeah, it's just a symbol of everything that the Dark Angels represent, and that's why I feel like it's going to be at the center of any future developments about the Dark Angels.
Also, I still want to know how Be'lakor got aboard.
Right? How?
How?
It's the impregnable fortress that anybody can get into, apparently.
Because I can understand Vashtor being able to manipulate the technology and allow himself and his legion on board. Okay, cool. The cult of Vashtor can get there. Makes total sense. But Be'lakor just showing up?
Rush 21129 asks, was there a Tucholcha machine on the Lion's flagship? I think it was only ever on the rock. I don't think it was on the rock until it was no longer on the rock, and then it was Vashtor's.
Is the Lion's flagship still alive or still active?
That's a really good question.
I'm not sure if it got destroyed.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Be'lakor is the master of the back door. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, there's so that's pretty much all we know about the rock at this current moment. I'm waiting to see what it does without that engine that it had, which Archifane took. I don't think the rock itself can get through the Cicatrix Maledictum. It could probably get through it with its ancient Guller fields, but it will suffer quite a bit if it tries. But can it make it across the Cicatrix Maledictum? It does have what it needs to do it.
The flagship of the Lion was called the Invincible Reason. It was a Gloriana class battleship, which we also need to do an episode on the Gloriana class battleships. They're amazing. We don't know. We're not sure what happened to it, but it doesn't seem to appear in their current line of battle. So
we'll just
either destroyed
Cypher.
or
He
lost.
knows where it is.
Cypher Brino. Yeah, that would be.
He probably hit it somewhere.
Yeah, it's if you want to take the rocket to a single sentence, it's this. The Dark Angels turned the last surviving piece of their homeworld into a wandering fortress, and it contains their weapons, their relics, their deepest shame, their most dangerous prisoners, and the sleeping body of their Primarch until very recently when he awoke. It's a central piece of 40k lore.
And it also contains the most motorcycles per
You're not going to let that go.
Space station that exists.
Got a super chat from Biofoot. Bellicor, oh no, I dropped my ice cream cone. I tripped and fell. What is this place? Where am I? Oh, Dip, there's people here. I meant to do this. Biofoot, I love the fact that you're writing it like Jason from The Good Place. That makes me I laugh. That's great, man. That is just great because I can see that. Oh, Dip.
Duty cakes. How did I get here?
All right, final thoughts on The Rock.
He's a terrible actor, and he should probably just stop being it. We had to make at least another joke.
Oh God, why?
You knew it was coming. Underrated movies of his is Rampage. That movie actually slapped.
It's pretty good. I gotta agree with that. I'm one of the few people that really like Black Adam, so there you go.
I thought that movie was okay.
Yeah.
In 40k, Bellicor is a comic relief character. Sort of.
Thank you, Sebastian Muller. That's a good point.
It's weird that Bellicor showing up is not considered like a really important event. That's what the weird thing about Bellicor is. I need a 40k book about Bellicor. I need a novel. I want a 3-novel series about why Bellicor is a badass. I want a novel series on Bellicor fighting other named greater demons. That's what I want. Because his rules state that he doesn't like them, and if he's a warlord in his own particular warband, you can't take named greater demons. So it's like, there's a lot of rules there, and I want that.
So Vashtor's attack on the rock from the Arcs of Omen, I could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Apparently Vashtor made a deal with an AI, an abominable intelligence, and he used that to predict the movements of the rock so that he could go to it and compromise it. And then he launched a massive assault using a Bale fleet, which is a chaos fleet of ships. It involved the Iron Warriors, the Black Legion, and his own demonic forces. So Abaddon was involved. The Ark of Omen itself, what are the Arcs of Omen? Let me see here.
That's a good question.
These are, I mean, they're basically, they're things that Vashtor constructed, right? Like they were.
Yes, apparently he built a few of them, and they are ships / stations.
There's Space Hulks. There's Space Hulks that he converted Space Hulks into warships, and these were called the Arcs of Omen. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's kind of like what the orcs do.
Yeah,
everyone's just stealing. Everyone in this story just stole ideas from the orcs. Attack Moon, The Rock, Arcs of Omen, Space Hulks.
Technically, the orcs stole the Attack Moon from Caliban because the Rock was already the Rock before
the orcs didn't know that. They had the idea first.
Sure,
it was just in the future.
So when Vashtor launched his assault, he had an Arc of Omen in the front, and the Rock and the Arc of Omen had a 1v1 battle, which apparently they fought to a standstill. So the Arcs of Omen are powerful, but they're not strong enough to like crack open the Rock by themselves.
Yeah.
Supreme Grandmaster Azrael, who had just passed through the Rubicon Primaris, he fought corridor by corridor to defend the Rock against the Iron Warriors, the Black Legion, the demonic forces. The First Legion systematically destroyed all of the heretics and demons through every chamber, which is pretty awesome. Vashtor himself did get on the Rock. He did clash directly with Azrael. He was distracted by a power fluctuation within the Rock, which was Bellicor. And Bellicor arrives with his own shadow army, intercepts Vashtor. Not interested in Vashtor's plan, just wanted to screw it up because they are rivals. So this is literally a cockblock move by Bellicor.
I still love the idea that Bellicor won, didn't know what to do, so he left.
Well, Vashtor got teleported away, and then seized, apparently, well, one of them teleported away. I forget which one. But Vashdor took control of all the weapon systems aboard the rock and turned its guns on Be'lakor. So to banish it back to the warp. And then Vashdor retreated, which is, again, I'm suspecting he may have like just briefly glanced at the vaults and was like, oh my God, no, I don't want any of that. And just got the hell out. Then after that was all over, he reported back to Abaddon, who was unsympathetic to Vashdor's plight.
Abaddon, famously known for being a sympathizer.
Right. Well, Vashdor's conclusion was that attacking the rock again, you could never catch them off guard again. Like that was a one-time thing, according to Vashdor. So it's a very strong defensible position. It has been attacked and breached successfully. Back-to-back chaos invasions. I can understand why people are like, the rock isn't that great. It's got a overhyped reputation.
Do we have any theories about the rock?
Well, I've listed most of the ones we know, like the fact that there might be a city of serfs and the origins of the Watchers of the Dark. What do you think the Watchers in the Dark are?
So, okay, if I were to take a huge guess here, I think the Watchers in the Dark are a sentient race that was probably created by the Old Ones. It has very strong ties to the warp, right? We know that. We know that the Old Ones created a ton of different creatures that were connected to the warp. I think that they represent they are the, how to put this? They're not the defenders of the Dark Angels, but they essentially are the defenders of the Dark Angels.
Some lore suggests that they're disdainful. Some lore suggests they're highly disdainful of the Dark Angels, though. It doesn't seem that way because they're always carrying things for them and helping them. So I don't feel like that's truly accurate. That might be from a book,
They're also never asked to do anything. Like they just do it of their own will.
Basically, yeah.
I think that this race was spared by the Emperor himself, and I think that they inhabit the forest that was destroyed on Caliban. So when that forest was destroyed, that became the forest that they live in the warp webway, wherever subdimension that the forest is in. That's my theory.
So I was asked this when I was streaming the other day and on a Twitch stream, and I said that they might have been a Xenos race that the Dark Angels encountered at some point. But again, they're present on Caliban earlier. Maybe they were the guardians of the T'Challa. Maybe the Old Ones put them there to keep the T'Challa from doing anything.
Because the Old Ones, the only thing we really know about the Old Ones is they did not like destroying sentient life.
Here's a theory from Rush 21129 says, I think they are a naturally occurring warp creature tied to the spirit of Caliban and possibly the lion. Maybe the disdain is from how far the angels fell. Yeah, maybe they really respected the Legion and not the chapter, right? Like what it became. Kind of like Gilliman, who doesn't really like what the Imperium became, but is still willing to work with it.
I could see that.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good theory.
So one of the big things about the Watchers that we don't know is whether or not they're physical.
Well, they carry stuff, so they have to be somewhat physical.
But demons can carry things.
Well, that means they're somewhat physical, just saying.
Yeah, but are they fully physical, or are they like tied strongly to the warp where they just vanish if you're not looking at them or something?
Well, they seem anti-chaos to an extent that I don't feel like they are natural denizens. No, I don't think they're red. I just don't think that they're natural denizens of the warp. I think they are creatures of the material world who have a strong connection to the warp. I realize that's a very thin line. All right. I realize I am making a very, very nuanced distinction between those two things, but I feel like there is a little bit of liminal space where they could exist.
I think also their inspiration was the Jawas.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, like
Absolutely, no doubt.
they're 100% just inspired by the Jawas.
Actually, so fun fact, there is a old horror movie from the 80s called Phantasm. And Phantasm has essentially evil Jawas as part of the panoply of monsters. And it was big back then. And I feel like there may be a little bit of a connection to Phantasm there as well. Because they
All
were
right.
very evil, nasty little zombie Jawas. So
I mean, who doesn't like nasty little Jawas? That sounds amazing.
Is it time to look at some miniatures?
Yes, so let's look at some minis. We have some cool ones this week. And I have some that I threw up here as well. And I want to tell you the story behind them.
Okay.
So. I got to make sure I do this correct. And then I have to get this up because I don't have 3 screens. I only have 2.
Lictor.
Oh, well, I barely knew her.
Oh.
Tee-hee. That's a 20, 30-year-old joke now.
Oh, my God. Wrecked him. Damn near killed him.
This is done by Nestor, who is this Ricky Chapman? Is Nestor Ricky Chapman?
No, Nestor Vitumbra is a different guy.
Yeah,
Ricky Chapman is Hellfire.
Yes.
Nestor,
get this.
Nestor's an extremely talented painter. Just look at the chitin and the color blending on the plates on his legs and chest. Beautiful.
This is their first custom Tyranid creature, a conversion of mine with the winged prime, with the arms and heads off of a Gene Stealer.
Yeah, that's an Imgarl Gene Stealer head there, and it's a really good conversion.
Yeah. I actually really like this creature because it does look like a Lictor. Like, we flat out both thought it was a Lictor. It pretty much is a Lictor, though. Like,
it's fine. It looks very Tyranid, which is great. It's very well painted, which is great. It has a fully complete base, which is great. No notes. This looks amazing, and I'm willing to wager that he used a couple of washes on this because you can see a lot of the details picked out that are usually done with a wash.
Yep, like right here.
Yeah. I was thinking on the forearm there too.
This is incredible. I love the white eye.
Yeah, that's Nestor Vitumbra is very talented, bro. Again, you can pay my arm anytime you want. Those look great.
All right. Then we have boop. It from the side. Look at the coloration of the chitin.
Dang.
That is such a good coloration for all of
that. I wish I could paint that way.
This is insanely well done.
Yeah, agreed.
I am very happy with this. This looks so good.
So if I know that Nestor Vitumbra is an extremely talented guy, and there's very little I can say to elevate this model, but I would say I think there might be one minor thing you could do. If you look at the edge of that blade on his arm there, like a little highlight on the edge, not the middle, but the very edge would be nice. And you could do the same thing on its hooves to kind of differentiate the hoof's color from the red sand.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, and we're talking, this is me being super nitpicky to find anything at all that I would say could elevate it because it's so well done. This is kind of my thing. For anybody who's new, when we review miniatures, Alexis is kind of the good cop. I'm a little bit of the bad cop because I like to point out like ways you could elevate it or make it a little bit better. But you're welcome to submit your models. We have a great Discord, and on that Discord is a 40K channel where you can show up your miniatures, and we will look at them on stream and talk about them and show them off to everybody who's watching. Our Discord is also a very great community, the Lore Seekers. If you want to join them, we have a link. I'm sure Lord Vorn will put it up. There it is.
Thank you.
Good job, Lord Vorn.
I love this picture. I love this picture a lot. I think what I would do with this picture is I would go into Photoshop, take out the background, and put like a hive alleyway in the background.
Or a jungle.
Yeah, or a jungle.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
That would be so cool.
Oh, I should mention, if you guys have enjoyed this deep dive into the grim darkness of the far future, please do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe buttons so that you can help the algorithm spread our heresy to more minds in the internet. Lorebeards needs to grow. We appreciate you guys.
Look at this. It almost has like a metallic feel to it.
A little bit.
This is so good. Look at them
Yep.
cheeks.
Oh my God, Alexis, look at that butt.
This is just a fantastic model.
Yeah.
He posted 5 pictures, so I'm just gonna go through it and take my time on it because this looks really good.
Agreed.
All right, next up we have the Beastman Kill Team. So
Nice.
this is just the Beastmen. This isn't like Slan Gores, Corn Gores, or any of the other Gores. This is done by Hawk. 4 out of 10 of his Beastmen Kill Team. I like him. This is a work in progress because he hasn't finished the basing yet or anything. I
was just going to read a super chat, but go ahead.
Yep. Oh, I'm just going to say that I love the one throwing the gas, wearing the gas mask and everything. I think that's really cool. The gas is very well done.
I have to imagine the sculptor is sitting there looking at Beastman. He's like, it would be really rad. It's a Beastman wearing a gas mask. Maybe this sculptor even had like a Krieg army or something. He's like, I want to see more things wearing gas masks. And it's just so cool. I dig that it's a non-human shape on the gas mask. And the sculpt is it's really nice. It's one of my favorite sculpts. I dig it. We do have a super chat here from Ricky Chapman. He says, we enjoy the idea that the Watchers are a race from the times before the War in Heaven. Pre-War in Heaven. Wow, that's... Oh, pre-old ones. He says they have survived on their own and have their own plans. I like the idea that they have their own agenda. I don't think they are enslaved to the Dark Angels. I don't think they are... I think they're allies. I don't see them as slaves, and I don't see them as underlings. I see them as like, we are helping you for our own reasons.
I mean, if we wanted to go with the full knight aesthetic, they're almost like squires carrying their equipment.
Yeah. The Black Templars take that to a different level, of course.
Yeah.
Probably could benefit from thinning your paints a little bit on that close-up.
When you do this, put a black wash over it and then go over it, just dry brush it a bit, and that'll be good.
These are definitely good. The hair is always a bit tricky, and especially the guy on the far right and the guy in the two over from him, they both have the same color, kind of an orangey beard-esque area, and those are a little notoriously difficult. So yeah, they would probably benefit from or at least the guy on the far right would certainly benefit from a little bit of a wash. But
yeah, they also look a bit too shiny.
You know what? It worked. Again, this is nitpicking. These guys look fine. They are tabletop ready. If you brought these to a game with me, I would not complain. They look just fine.
Babe, turn the light off.
And the last thing I would say is, obviously, those bases need a little work because they're not finished.
Yeah. There's white on them.
Yeah, but they would benefit from something on the base and probably a brown or black ring around the bottom.
Now, I have to ask you. If you were to make a Ninja Turtle crossover with the Leagues of Votann. So this is a commission work that I had to do. All right, for this next one.
You were commissioned to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Leagues of Votann?
That's
Casey Jones. Oh my God. That's awesome.
I had to custom sculpt the hair and everything.
Wow. No way. That is rad. What is that a kin?
Yeah, it's the new Brokir guy.
Wow. That's definitely Casey Jones. Good job. That's a Necron spell, I'm imagining.
This picture was taken before he was fully finished. So you can see like a chip here that got fixed. Because what I do when I finish a paint job is I take a picture of it and then I look at the picture and I zoom in and I'm like, what did I mess up? That. And then I go back and but I had a lot of fun with this Casey Jones. I even cut his weapon to make a hockey stick out of it.
Nice. I can see that.
I did, unfortunately, like when I asked the guy, I was like, hey, because this was a commission, I was like, do you want the hockey stick to still be a power weapon? And he's like, no, just brown. And I'm like, all right. So that's what we did.
Now, Casey is a simple man. He uses sports equipment, nothing special about it.
You can also see cat hair right here because as per the norm.
Oh no, not the cat hair. Oh, if you're a pet owner and you're trying to paint miniatures, it is a constant battle between the shedding and the paint.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's always a good idea to double check for error before you
Yeah.
finish it up.
And then these are some world eaters that I got emergency commissioned for. So
Ah,
the night, it was what? I got commissioned on, I think Tuesday, and he wanted them by Friday. And I was like, I can get them done in 2 days because I have multiple. So for those of you that don't know, Ice Hammer is happening right now. It's an Icelandic GT. A lot of our players are there. I'm not there. I have a family friend and breakfast tomorrow that we're going to, so I couldn't attend, which is totally fine. But I get commissioned like crazy the days or weeks before big events. And this guy was part of this commission. So I had to paint him in almost a day, and I think I did a pretty good job on them. This is before this had a chance to dry.
whoa! Now that's a really a nice looking base.
So
Damn!
again,
Look
you
at
can
that
see the cat
helmet.
hair.
Yeah, but you can all the blood and the helmet are just beautiful.
I
Way
also
to
tried to
go.
make sure that the helmet is submerged in the blood because a
Hmm.
lot of the times when you put like special things on bases, they don't submerge.
Hmm. They just rest
And
on top.
here I wanted to make sure that the skulls had like detail on them, but I originally did them with a brown color scheme. And unfortunately, the whole model is brown because this person wanted, so how they commissioned me is they wanted Iron Warrior World Eaters. That was what I was given as instructions for this.
Hmm.
So I did the Iron Warrior gold, the Iron Warrior silver, and then the gold trim of the World Eaters.
Hmm. That's interesting. There is a question here from Rush 21129. Is that natural stone or stone plus paint?
So this is Icelandic beach, black sand beaches. So if you get a commission from me, you get a little bit of Iceland with you.
So this guy's like a son of the beach.
Ha! Yeah. But I'm really happy with how all the shadowing came out on the skulls and everything.
Hmm.
And here you can see some of the silver and gold.
Hmm.
These Christmas colors.
Only if you're Yukon Cornelius.
Yep. This took me
that's
a
a deep
minute.
cut for people of a certain age. It's from an old Rankin and Bass show called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
This took me a minute here to get the blood looking like it's full, but still showing shadow and everything.
Hmm.
So this kind of stuff, like you don't notice it when you're like first painting, but as you get better at painting, these are things you notice. Like, hey, all of this stuff should show motion. Some of the stuff should be sloshing around.
Can we get a zoom in on the head a little bit?
Yep.
So first of all, I love the teeth of the maw around the outside. World eaters, of course, that's their symbol, is a maw eating a world. So having it as part of their armor is great. Though there's a lore bit though. The little metal plugs or dreadlocks that coming off the back of this guy's head. You know what those are, right?
Those are butcher's nails.
Exactly. That is a strange archaeotech device that is basically implanted into every world eater that makes them feel nothing except when they're killing people, and then they feel something. So their life is a constant. It's a constant drive to feel something by killing, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
it is the thing that drove Angron insane.
Oh, also you can see the leg over here.
Yep.
One thing that took me a while is getting that stupid eye painted. Oh my god. I had to do that like 4 or 5 times.
Ratwood says, "Thanks for reminding us we are old." Yes, sorry. I'm reminded of it constantly because I'm 50. I'm about to be 51. Oh wow, look at that. That's a defiler? Nope,
A
that's
Forge
a
Fiend.
forge fiend. Right.
Oh, and that last guy was called a Slaughterbound. It is what happens when you're possessed by 8 demons and you're a leader. I made it so that all the weapons here aren't can be switched out. And then
Magnetized.
no, they don't need to be magnetized. This creature doesn't need to be magnetized, and I see way too many people magnetizing this thing. You can actually just stick them on, and they're totally fine, and they hold really well.
The sculpts are getting really good.
Yes. So again, this is the whole Iron Warriors meets World Eaters aesthetic that I was trying to go with. You can see the blood underneath, and oh, I messed up right there. Oh, that's gonna bug me. Next time I see his model, I'm gonna fix it. That really bugged me. Oh my god,
Whoops.
that bugged me way more than it needed to. but I wanted the maws to be like bloody and everything, but still look like they're fresh.
Hmm.
You can see it better on the other picture.
Now, actually, what you just said is an interesting thing about painting models and showing them off. The person who painted the model is going to look at these pictures and they're going to see way more flaws than anybody else. Okay, that's just the nature of the business. If you show people your models like us, we're going to see things, but a lot of times we're only going to see the most obvious things. The little bitty details, those are usually the ones that only the painter knows about, and those are almost always the ones they're the most self-conscious about. But you don't need to be self-conscious about it, because as long as it looks good out here, that's all that matters.
Yep. This annoyed me. Like, doing trim on Chaos Space Marines takes a very long time, but getting the trim highlight, oh, I was sitting there like this doing this. I had it on my knee and I'm just sitting there. And I'm trying to get all the highlights on this thing because I want this thing to pop on the battlefield. And you can see all the highlights on this. And I'm really happy with how the smokestacks came out, for one, because they got that like evil glow. Because everything's better when it's evil. But moving on from the
Whoa.
stuff I did, let's get back to Nestor.
Whoa, mama.
This thing is sick.
That is ludicrously cool.
I like the termite mound on his back.
Yeah, well, or is that a conch shell or snail shell?
It might be.
Yeah, I don't think it's a termite mound. Although, that, you know what that reminds me of?
What?
Ninja Scroll.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, I haven't seen that in forever.
I know, but we talk about it. Veer and I talk about it a lot, so it's something I thought I'd bring. It's a in joke from another channel. By the way, I host Lorebeards and Role Playing with Vera Samila, and if you want to check us out, we talk about role playing games on Mondays. But this guy is rad. I love the book. I love the colors, especially the little chest banner.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy looks really. This is winning local painting competition.
This is something amazing. I wanted to mention. So if you do a full vial, it's fine, but make sure you do shadowing on it to show that the liquid inside is moving. But if you do a half empty vial, it is so cool. The only thing that I would add to this to make it pop even more is add a much darker brown at the bottom to go with that red right there. So that way it looks like it's settled at the bottom. Yeah. Aside from that, this is beautiful.
Take this to a painting competition, please.
Yeah. And there's that.
Wow. Yeah. Holy moly. It's like this is like the Carnival of Chaos, but for 40K.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nestor, were you inspired by the Carnival of Chaos from Mordheim? Because that's what this looks like, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, this is sick.
Good
I like the use
Lord.
of Renegade Guardsmen here. He's got a Goat Man over here. He's got a couple of Plague Marines. What's funny is he's got an older Plague Marine. Like, these are the first edition Horus Heresy miniatures.
Yeah, that's a Mark II or Mark III armor, I think.
Yeah.
The Jester. People are pointing out the Jester.
The Jester looks sick.
Yeah, no shit. Look at that thing. Good God.
That is so good.
Wow. Good freaking Lord.
I never thought of Nurgle and Jesters, but it kind of works.
Yeah, that's definitely Mark III armor on that guy.
Yeah, it is.
Claw. So again, this is very reminiscent of the Carnival of Chaos, which is from Mordheim, and it was also a Nurgle-themed, circus-themed band. So the Jester would fit right in. So with this guy, like a strongman. The guy on the left is kind of like a strongman.
Yeah, but people are talking about the Jester. We're going to take a look at this Jester. Look at this. This is insanely well done.
Good
I like that the skin on it is just gone. You can see bone.
I'm jealous.
Through it.
I'm legitimately jealous of this guy's ability to paint.
I love how it looks fresh and gross at this perfect time while showing off all of these colors.
It's clean, but it's filthy. It's so amazing.
I made my search history cursed one day because I had to look up how bruising is done on larger people because I was painting a Great Unclean one, and they have a lot of rolls that go over themselves. But there's a special color discoloration that you get from I don't want to say fat, but from being bigger if you were immobile, where you get this coloration of bruise and blackened crust that's there that I wanted to put on a great unclean one, and this captures it too. It's really good. It's really, really, really like crazy looking and gross, and I love it.
Look how corroded the axe is. That's the sculpt. That's not the paint job, but it's really well done.
Mm-hmm. God, I
And
love
of
this
course,
model.
finished bases. No notes, 0 notes.
Yeah. Moving on, we got the
Plague bearers.
Plague Bearers, who I keep wanting to call Poxwalkers, and then I correct myself and call them Plague Knives because that's the correct word. It's not.
These guys are rad. They look excellent.
I like how, again, they're still colorful. That's the big thing. Like, this guy is doing his best, like, Invincible impersonation. If you know, you know.
It's wet. I love it, says Rush21129.
I really like these because it's like skinks or old lizard men.
Well, there's
And he's got
definitely
the skull head.
definitely skink bodies with a goat skull head. There's a Skaven shield and a Skaven spear. But look at the guy on the far right, the way his hand turns into tentacles.
Yeah,
That is so good.
that's a dryad arm.
Yeah,
I
but it's
have a
right.
few of those.
It's right out of the Realm of Chaos book. Like that is exactly the kind of mutation you would see.
This is just sick. I love this. Oh my god.
Bro, you're just murdering it over here. Okay, Trader Guardsman.
Like this guy, nice and colorful, blends in and everything. This guy, super blends in. And then you got Carl over here. And Carl just looks like he's out of place.
No, I think so. I honestly believe that there's some Mordheim and some Necromunda in here because I'm pretty sure that guy in the middle is an old Necromunda scabby.
This one?
I think so. I could be wrong.
This is a Poxwalker.
Is it? Okay. Well, it's probably then the guy who sculpted it probably looked at one of the scabbies.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But look on the far right though. That is a gun right out of Necromunda. I feel like.
Yeah.
But then again, this might be there's new boxes all the time with stuff that I miss. So maybe that's from the new box.
These two are the Trader Guardsman boxes.
Okay. Well, that looks rad.
Yeah.
The dynamite. Did you see the dynamite?
Yeah, I did. Oh, look at this. These are old Marines. I love the old Marines. I feel like
barbed wire on the base.
I feel like you should add a little bit of black to make the other colors pop.
I mean, that's legit, but at this point that might be gilding the lily though, because they look so good. Like I would be very worried about trying to touch these up because they're just so damn good as they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
do like that you used a drill and a knife to scrape up and make their armor look corroded. That's really nice. Okay, so this is Hellflayer, and these are just work in progress stuff.
Ricky Chapman.
So we got a dinosaur.
Nice.
Which automatically makes it amazing.
20% cooler.
So a work in progress for a Chaos Chosen, a tank proxy, Triceratops.
Nice.
Well, actually, that's not a Triceratops. But
what do you mean?
Its frill is too small.
Okay.
It is a Triceratops toy, but
No, this is legit. So for anybody who doesn't know, Alexis is the world's biggest Jurassic Park fan. She is a massive Jurassic Park fan. And so this lady right here knows her dinosaurs. She knows her dinosaurs so well. She's like, that's not an true Triceratops because the frill is so small. That is something only a true dinosaur nerd could say. And well done to you. Well done to you, madam.
Okay, so looking at this, and dinosaurs are cool. Everyone knows that dinosaurs are cool. All right, so I grabbed just the one image off of this because I feel like it's enough. It's got all of them in there. I don't know really what I'm looking at. I want more detail on this so I can see it. I see a Corn Chosen. I'm okay with that. This looks like
it could be a fallen angel.
Yeah, it could be a fallen angel. What's the Dark Angel warband chapter that uses the all white armor?
Angels of Absolution?
Yeah, it kind of looks like an Angel of Absolution.
I'm not sure, but I think it's Angels of Absolution.
And then this guy is just not having a great day. Like his arms are gone, you know. Alexis, do T-Rexes taste like chicken? My theory is that they do. Tougher meat, but so would they? So okay, first off, the whole T-Rex and chicken thing and T-Rex and ostrich thing is not inherently true. The T-Rex is related to all modern birds, and there's no real connection, direct connection to just this evolved like a Pokemon into a chicken. But all birds do share a taste between them that you could relate to a dinosaur, but it would have to be a I don't know if it would be a it depends on the age of the T-Rex because a young T-Rex would be moving more, the muscles would be more lean, but
So
an
you
older
it means it depends on whether it's white or dark meat, right?
it also depends on white or dark meat, but it also depends on how much muscle mass that T-Rex is using in its older age.
Mm.
T-Rexes usually live to about 25 to 30, 30 being extremely rare. But 20 to 30 is their range of age. And as they get older, their muscles would actually get weaker in certain areas, like the breast, where we would be wanting to eat. So, I mean, it would probably taste more like ostrich than anything else.
Mm. Or
So
turkey.
that's where my thought is. And then we
Ooh.
got something from Roth for the live stream, some accessories I've been working on. Eldar for scale. I do like the Eldar for scale. You should have put a banana there. Should have been a banana for scale. Like next time you do this, I want you to green stuff a banana to put in the Eldar's hand.
Is this like I'm going to assume this is like D&D type terrain.
This
'Cause it,
does look like D&D type terrain. I think the D20 mall here, which is hilarious by the way.
right. It's a great
Uh
club.
I think that's for a
Nice.
joy toy. I think I seen it in a different post. Uh
Oh.
I love the idea of hitting somebody with a D20. That'd be a great weapon.
I mean, if it's sized appropriately, yes.
Yeah, of course.
That's really
Looks
cool.
good. Looks
Yeah,
great for like D&D.
it looks
Looks
like Joy
good
Toy
for a
scale.
background.
I think if I had to say, it maybe does look like Joy Toy scale. Thanks everybody.
And
Oh, we got one
we got
more.
one more. One more. Hitman. Hitman 1213. A jump chaplain for this week and my first childhood kit bash, Lysander, with a Grey Knight Terminator arm.
Yeah, I see that. And you also got the jousting field there. Lysander was
Yeah.
a really fun one to do conversions with. I did conversions of Lysander myself
Yeah.
back in the day.
You know, Lysander having the fist hammer was always hilarious to me.
Yes, the fist was on the top. Yeah,
Yeah, it was always silly because it was like I always imagined it as just a power fist on a stick.
now the jump chapel looks really great. I love the color scheme, and I think you've painted him well. I have a weird question, and I want Alexis to think about this. Does that Crozius look like it's bent to you, or is that just the angle of the
It
camera?
definitely looks bent. It looks like this is the resin version. Also, cat hair.
Oh no!
Oh, sorry, it's the power field. I do like that we can see a radical difference in their painting from then and
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
Like painting then, you're a child, this is your cool like first miniature, you're having fun with it. This is why whenever like younger kids ask me to do painting commissions, I actually refuse. I need the money, don't get me wrong, but I refuse because I want their first army to look rough. I want them to get into it, to paint and get better.
She actually smacks the kid across the face and then spits on their shoes and says, "No, hell no," when that kid is just asking her to commission.
Wow. And no, I have the axe of discipline.
I'm obviously joking. No, she does not
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that. I'm
So
just joking.
I love these. I think they look great. No notes on the chaplain. Chaplain looks great. Like it's a fine looking chaplain.
Mm-hmm. Tabletop quality, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, we're at
So
the end. This
whew.
is the last couple of minutes of the show.
All
Final
right.
thoughts.
We do have to talk about it. No, the Rock is not named after a gay nightclub. Unfortunately, that is a rumor. It is not named after a gay nightclub.
I've never heard that. Wow.
You've never heard that.
I've never heard that.
Look that up right now. You will see that people believe this.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
So the theory is that in downtown, wherever the hell it was, there was a nightclub called The Rock, and it was a gay club, and which sounds like a great time to me. Honestly, if the I'm all for gay representation. But yeah, The Rock was apparently named after it. It wasn't Nottingham. Thank you. In downtown Nottingham, there was apparently a place called The Rock that was a gay bar, and it was named after it.
Yeah, it's called Castle Rock, but the locals call it The Rock.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
yeah,
it's unfortunately not true. It's just a coincidence. It's a really funny coincidence.
That is, yeah. It's pure urban legend.
Yeah, and as much as I want it to be, the Dark Angels, Lionel Johnson being a gay poet, there's a lot of homosexuality associated with the Dark Angels, which is really cool, especially with the whole idea of them keeping secrets and everything. Shows that Lionel Johnson is written as like a closeted gay guy, which I absolutely love, which is why he's so secretive and so distant from everyone except for Luther. I love that idea, but no, that is not canon. It's just really written kind of like that, though.
Okay.
Those are my final thoughts. Well, I needed to bring it up at some point, and I waited till the last second.
I'm grateful that you brought it up because, again, I'd never heard about it, and B, that gives me that does recontextualize some things about the Dark Angels. That it's not a bad thing. It's just like, oh, okay, I hadn't thought of it that way before. So
yeah,
that's really cool. Thank you guys for. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, some of the Primarchs are written like they have autism, like Perturabo.
Oh, absolutely, 100% autistic.
So I could definitely see them like throwing in these hidden themes within them. And I always like, weirdly enough, when I was young, I read the Lion as a gay character before I came out as bi, which is really amusing to me. I was like, huh, I could relate to this character.
So, for people who don't know, I'm actually Ace, which is probably one of the reasons why a lot of these references either skipped me entirely or I just didn't think about it. So there you go.
You know what they say, Ross? In the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you guys on Wednesday for more Warhammer Lorebeards 40,000 and Lorebeards role-playing on Monday.
And I've been doing my own stuff on my own channel. You can check it out here at Northern Queen Alexis. I'm streaming old classic Warhammer games. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Love you guys.